Boyfriend 27M wants me 24F to admit to cheating, but I didn't cheat. He thinks I cheated. I didn't. He says that he'll forgive me if I admit to what he thinks I did. I tell him I can't admit to something I haven't done without losing my integrity. He just thinks I'm doubling down on the lie, and that I'm unable to step up to the plate and own up to the fact that I cheated. I don't even know what to do in this situation. I've never been treated like this before, and I guess I just don't understand the psychology here. Does he actually think I cheated? Would things be okay if I admitted to the lie? Because why would you want to be with someone who cheated on you? Or what's actually going on here? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Don't be with people that can't be trusted and will play these mind games. Trust me, there are better and more perfect relationships for you out there. If someone did this to me, I would leave as if they have to ask, then the relationship is over. Commenter 2. Unfortunately, relationship is over. He clearly wants you to admit to something deep down he knows you didn't do to hold it over you. Sit him down with I have not and would not ever cheat on you, but if you cannot accept this truth, then our relationship is over as of this moment. Watch how quickly his tone will change. Commenter 3. He's cheating. Reply. I guess I don't totally get why a cheater would turn it around and project on their partner. I've heard this is common but don't understand why it happens. Commenter 4. Because when his truth comes out he gets to say, well, you did it. It's very common for the guilty to point the finger first. Commenter 5. Leave. This will never end. On his deathbed his last words will be that you made his life miserable because you never confessed. Reply. Yikes. Yeah, he was saying crazy stuff like that's a really heavy thing to carry on your conscience for the rest of your life, so why don't you just admit to it? I told him I feel guilty about nothing because I didn't do it. Commenter 6. 9 out of 10 times when someone baselessly accuses their partner of cheating, it's because they are themselves having an affair. Has anything else he's done felt off? Usually this kind of manipulation isn't a one-off thing. In any event, even if he is that 1 in 10, I'd leave anyway because he has shown he doesn't trust you. You need to assume manipulation is the point. The idea is to condition you to see things his way by default. And once you make an ultimatum like that, the relationship is over anyway. He already ended it. So I'd just go along with it if I were me, tell him he's welcome to believe whatever nonsense he'd like, and just distance yourself from him. Reply. Definitely not a one-off thing. See my other comment for examples, but he has come at me with baseless accusations over the course of our relationship, and they've sort of ramped up in frequency lately. He just went on a trip and these accusations seemed to get worse before and after he was away. And yeah, I agree with everything you said there. Thank you. Final update. Background. My boyfriend accused me of cheating. I never cheated. He said he would forgive me if I admitted to it, and said our relationship would be over if I didn't own up to the lie. Thank you all for the clarity you provided regarding my last post. I, of course, refused to admit to doing something I hadn't done. He kept doubling down on the fact that I was a liar and didn't have the courage to own up to it. The conversation didn't go anywhere. As soon as he saw I was going to stand my ground, he lost the soft, loving angle, i.e. I love what we had, it was so beautiful, some of the best moments in my life, and I'm willing to move past this because I love you so much, and switch to a sort of locked up, emotionless but aggressive insistence on my error. I got frustrated trying to defend myself against a brick wall, said fuck you, and he told me to get lost. We broke up and I'm moving out. This morning he aggressively asked me how the apartment search was going. I told him to back the fuck off, give me time, I had literally moved in 3 weeks ago, and that I think he was cheating on me the whole time. He denied it and then was like it's not cheating because we aren't in a relationship anymore. And that he didn't cheat because he's a true person, not to put the blame on him because it's all on me, and that I'm psychotic and a fucked up, gnarly person. It was kind of tough to really get everything out there and get a read on him because he just had like this intense blank look on his face and he just shut down the conversation. I honestly still don't know what to think, if he actually thinks I cheated or not, if he thinks I'm actually that kind of person, or if he's just insecure. But either way it doesn't matter. I'm done and over that kind of treatment and will never let anything get this far again. There were so many red flags I ignored along the way because I adored the guy and now I'm being punished for it. I overlooked stuff like him following a bunch of porn accounts on Instagram, thought every guy probably does this to some degree, threatening to go fuck someone else. When I suggested I might go to India for a male friend's wedding he apologized and said he will treat me how he would want to be treated. Read me a list of relationship ideals for himself and the first on the list was don't have sexual relations with another woman, and in my mind I'm like I think that's a given. No clue if he actually cheated, but I hadn't ever considered it before. It sucks, I loved him, but you can't fix broken and I'm going to find someone one day that actually loves and believes me. Did I dodge some abusive thing, I wonder? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Cheaters think everyone cheats. If he's throwing unfounded accusations at you, it's probably because he is the one who is cheating. Commenter 2. Cheaters don't necessarily think everyone cheats, they convince themselves that everybody cheats as a way to rationalize their selfish decisions to themselves. Commenter 3. Who cares what he thinks? He's a jerk and I hope you can remove yourself from his drama soon. Reply. Me too. He can think what he wants. Commenter 4. I'm glad to see you took everyone's advice. I don't address everything he said, but I'll just say he's full of shit. Even if he isn't actually cheating, it doesn't matter, the relationship was hurting you. You don't need confirmation, you don't need to understand his reasoning, to that path lies madness. You can accept he was a shitty partner whose actions actively hurt you and that's enough. I will say that shitty relationships are a lot harder to get over than healthy ones. Healthy ones tend to end when they reach their natural expiration date, there's no animosity or unresolved issues. You'll probably be wondering for a while what you could have done differently, and I'm gonna tell you now, absolutely nothing. He would never be satisfied. In that thread, I suggested staying single for a bit and reflecting on your relationships. Unfortunately, cycles of abuse are a thing, people tend to leave one abusive relationship and enter another, and part of that is they try and move on really fast. You gotta take time and think hard about what red flags you might have missed in the beginning, what patterns you overlooked. Then when you're ready, you're better equipped to recognize the signs much earlier, like before getting together. Of course you can do that and still experience more abuse down the road. Abuse is hard to spot even when you know what to look for, but you gotta do what you can to protect yourself. You're doing the right thing. Reply. Thank you again for your thorough thoughts. You're 100% right there. Honestly, most of my past partners have been pretty damn good, and this is the first one I've really experienced that was toxic in such a significant, one-sided way. I definitely will be taking a break from dating for a while, and maybe men in general, haha, I'm bi. I think it's getting pretty clear in hindsight everything I felt weird about but tried to overlook it. Commenter 5. He's cheating. This is all psychotic projection. Commenter 6. It's not cheating because we're not in a relationship anymore. Which is it, sir? You were cheating but now technically aren't. Or did you already have sex with someone else within a very short time frame of our relationship ending? Reply. I guess I sort of assumed he just said that to piss me off. Stories number 2. AITA for rejecting my dad's efforts to repair our relationship because he chose his wife over me. I 21M lost my mom when I was still a baby, and my dad didn't date anyone until I was around 9. Then he met his wife, Lindsay. She was a single mom to 2 kids. Both her kids had different fathers and weren't around. Her oldest was 11 and her youngest was 6. Her youngest was special needs and medically complex. My dad and Lindsay rushed their relationship because she didn't have much free time and she wanted help and dad was willing. A really brief TLDR, my dad kept me in a bad situation. His wife's youngest took up a lot of money and space and with all the extra needs, and her oldest was angry and violent and lashed out and drank and did drugs. I had a curtained off space, not a bedroom with a door and not a real bed. Went 6 weeks without seeing my dad while I lived there once. He told me she came first when I asked him to leave, and his marriage and happiness would always be first. I left at 17 and didn't look back, and now he wants to reconcile, but I said no because I deserve to be happy too. I know it wasn't her son's fault, her son was the 6-year-old. But he was a lot of work and I resented it from the start. Dad told me good people help family and they don't pass up love and family just because it'll be more difficult or more work. And he told me that he deserved to be happy and Lindsay made him happy, and that my mom was his first chance and he lost her, so Lindsay was his second chance. He told me I could benefit so much from being a caring brother to Lindsay's son and would learn a lot about real life. Money was extremely tight and the house had so much medical equipment and mobility stuff for Lindsay's son. I didn't even get an actual bedroom. I was shoved behind a curtain where the office had been before Dad and I moved in. The timeline was like, May, Dad and Lindsay meet. September they introduce all of us to each other. November we all move in together. February Dad and Lindsay are married. A few months after Dad and I moved in, Lindsay's daughter, aka the oldest, started acting out. She smashed up some of her half-brother's medical equipment, she stole money, she started sneaking out late at night and she got drunk a few times, she started taking drugs, she pushed me around if I was in her way. There were nights I couldn't sleep until 1 or 2 a.m. because I could hear Lindsay and her daughter fight, and the daughter would say she wished her half-brother would die and they could move on. Lindsay would get hysterical about it and her daughter would say he wasn't her real brother anyway and he was just a burden. I begged my dad to leave and let it be the 2 of us again, but he said we couldn't walk out. We committed. We were more than just the two of us now. I told him I didn't want any of them and I hated how much life had changed. He told me life always changed and I needed to get on top of my feelings and accept that he needed to be happy and deserved to save his marriage. He told me his marriage was the most important thing and that it had to be to provide me with stability. Even when Lindsay's daughter kicked me out of my room and bed and would literally drag me by the hair or legs to get me out, Dad stayed. When I was 13 I went 6 weeks without seeing my dad because Lindsay's son was in the hospital and she stayed the whole time, which meant if Dad wasn't at work he was with her, and all I got was a note telling me to go to friends' houses if there was no food. Those 6 weeks were hell because every time I saw Lindsay's daughter she would curse at me and shoved me around and made it so I really didn't feel okay outside of my curtain. Nothing got better, and after I turned 15 Lindsay started asking me to help more with chores and errands and she expected me to be her little helper, and when I said no Dad told me I didn't get to disrespect my new mom. That led to a fight and I exploded and told him to fuck off because she would never be my mom and nothing good came from them being married and he needed to leave me alone. A few more fights happened around what I said because Lindsay heard and she was upset and said she loved me and her son loved me too and would hate to know I saw him as nothing but a burden too. I was 17 when I just left one day. I didn't have a plan or a bunch of savings, but I decided I couldn't anymore. I left Dad a note like he left me when I was 13. He filed a missing persons report and I had to tell the cops I was safe, but I refused to go back. And I avoided getting sent back before my 18th birthday. Then I was just free. I didn't stay in touch and started a new life. I even tracked down my mom's family and now I live with my maternal grandparents who had searched for me for ages. But Dad moved and never let anyone know where we were going. He got in touch a couple of months ago and I ignored him and I kept ignoring him and his request to reconcile. Then I replied a week ago to him saying how much he hated that we ended up here and he wasn't even sure if I blocked him. I actually had planned to but never expected him to reach out, but he loved me and missed me and more than anything he wanted us to work on things. I just told him that he chose his wife over me and he made a big chunk of my childhood hell as a result and I wanted nothing more to do with him because I deserved to put my happiness first. He replied a bunch since saying I should never have expected him to give up his wife for me and we can work on this. That I need my dad and all kinds of crap. He actually seems kinda desperate and erratic about it and like he's really afraid I won't give him a chance. AITA for rejecting his efforts. Comments. Commenter 1. Your dad failed you when you needed him most. You're not wrong. Reply. Thank you. Like he said she comes first so he should be fine with the outcome of that. Commenter 2. NTA. Sounds like you went through hell and the one person you were supposed to be able to count on, let you down spectacularly. Reply. It was such a big change. Then it was hell having hardly anything and then dealing with the fighting and all the other stuff. Commenter 3. Obviously I did not need my dad to turn out okay, fuck off is all the energy you need to dedicate to this. NTA at all. Commenter 4. NTA. Maybe now he realizes that no one will be there to take care of him when he's old, and that's why he's reaching out. Maybe he just wants to feel better about leaving you behind. Whatever the reason, ask yourself whether his presence would truly add value to your life. Stories number 3. Me 20F with my boyfriend 21M of 4.5 years. He is unwilling to say yes to the little things that make me happy: a double date with my friends, dinner with my family. Background: he and I have been together since junior year of high school. We've lived together at his childhood home with his mother and siblings for the past 2 years. Overall, our relationship is pretty harmonious. When I talk to other people about our SOs, I'm usually thanking my lucky stars for the guy I've got because we are compatible in so many ways and rarely fight. We all contribute equally financially to the running of the house, and this includes my obviously deep involvement in his family dynamic. I'm ever willing to help around the house, and contribute positively to the needs of everyone in the household, especially boyfriend. I'm a people pleaser in all dimensions of my life, including our relationship. Boyfriend is not. I often joke that he must have some form of oppositional defiant disorder. I am aware this is not a joke for those with actual diagnoses. Please don't take offense, because it feels as though the majority of the non-essential requests I make of him receive NOs in response. Basic things like "can I borrow your laptop" or "will you pick up X on your way home" are not the issue. But when I ask about girly, for lack of a better description, stuff like going on double dates with my friends or seeing my family, he utterly shuts down with no explanation. I'm never even graced with detail like "I don't want to hang out with so-and-so because she annoys me," or "your uncle's jokes aren't funny." He just straight up shuts down and says something along the lines of "nah, I'm all set. It's not gonna happen," or flat out "no way." The most recent examples: my family threw a graduation party for myself, college, and my twin cousin's high school. Boyfriend also graduated from college this year, so my mom wanted to take the opportunity to celebrate his achievement as well. She even painted his name on the beautiful congratulations banner alongside mine and my cousin's, and he was included in the shower of cards and gifts coming from aunts and uncles. It goes without saying that my family has accepted him as one of us in the warmest way possible, and my mother lovingly refers to him as her son. This would be fantastic if boyfriend had been willing to attend the party. I gave him several weeks' notice, even a 3-day countdown if you will. Refused to attend. Refused to justify or give any valid reasons why he didn't attend, other than the non-obligatory plans he made the same day for the sole purpose of avoiding the party. I was at a loss for how to deal with this besides attempts at verbal communication when I got home. Showed him the banner. Gave him the cards. Mentioned that my friend's a couple who will come into the story again soon, even brought his favorite beer to share because I'd mentioned it to them in conversation before. Said how much everyone missed him and how awkward it was for me to continually make up excuses for why he didn't come to a party thrown partially in his honor. In return I got a half-assed apology and the subject was changed. I remained defeated because I didn't throw the pathetic crying fit that was brewing in my head because those never get anyone anywhere. Fast forward to today. The same couple, I've hung out with them both, talked positively about this boyfriend of mine, they're dying to meet him and haven't yet. Same couple who brought boyfriend's favorite beer to the party he blew off suggested a double date for tomorrow night. I asked boyfriend. His answer was, I'm willing to go out with you, but I don't want to see anyone else. Mind you, he hasn't even met these people and I've never even had the chance to tell him much about them. We see each other every single day, so it isn't like he misses me and we're lacking alone time. I try several different angles to try and convince him that it could be fun. We've never been to the drive-in before. X cool movie is playing. It's only $6. We can smoke in the car. Jane and John Doe are such cool people, I think you'd get along great. Brick wall. I'm all set with that. Just stop, I'm not going, etc. No explanation or justification. No flexibility for different plans or a different night or any compromise whatsoever. Boyfriend is not, never has been, and never will be a whipped guy, and that is the last thing I'd want from a relationship. We lead independent, productive lives with separate jobs, friends, and school. This has worked for almost 5 years now. I rarely even ask for our friend groups to cross, only because I know that this is the result. I'll occasionally tag along on adventures with his buddies, and ultimately see more of his friends at our house than my own group because he invites them over to work on cars, bikes, etc. in our garage/chill spot, and that's just groovy. I like his friends. They are my friends too, but if I try to reverse the situation and invite him out with my friends' co-ed situations, I'm not asking him to join us for Monty Python at the mall. He refuses to participate. If I have my friends over, he busies himself with anything but what we're doing. The same system applies to his family. If he's seeing relatives or having dinner with parents, I'm almost always involved and welcomed there. If I'm doing the same with my family, it's like pulling teeth to get him to participate. TLDR, boyfriend won't meet me halfway on things like double dates with my friends and participation in family events. It feels like I'm doing all the giving and he isn't reciprocating. It leaves me in the awkward position of always making up excuses for why he isn't by my side, which I feel reflects poorly on me and our relationship and leaves me feeling alone. How do I effectively tell him that he's being a complete dick without sounding like just another typical whiny girlfriend? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. This sounds awful. I hate to be the person who jumps to break up, but he really doesn't seem like he's considerate of you or your feelings at all in terms of integrating himself into your life outside of his own. He knows these things are important to you and yet doesn't budge an inch. I think you need to have a serious convo about this. Does he have social anxiety or is it just that he doesn't feel like going? Maybe you can get to the bottom of this and have a compromise, though it doesn't seem hopeful if you have to drag him tooth and nail to participate in these things. Perhaps, though, he doesn't quite see the severity of the issue yet. Can you imagine a future with someone who won't ever integrate your lives fully? Reply. On the grand scheme of our relationship, I don't think this is enough for me to break it off, at least not yet. There have been times where he's come along on these kinds of outings, and he was fine after the initial teeth pulling to get him going. I don't think it is a social anxiety, because I'm quite certain it's him saying to himself, I could sit through a movie with these people I don't know, or I could go do X fun thing with my buddies instead. I'm already fully aware that he's selfish in this way, and this is the most detrimental manifestation of his selfishness in our relationship. In many other arenas, he does put me first and considers my feelings, and this doesn't go unseen for me. I appreciate the shit out of what he does right. Maybe that's why this sticks out as so god-awful and painful, because it really is my only consistent complaint. Regarding your last point, that really is the scary part. I don't think I can, and I know better than to demand change. Commenter 2. He does not value your feelings as much as his feelings. My so has pretty bad social anxiety. Like diagnosed bad, and he sucks it up and does shit I want to do because he knows it is important to me. Yours is seriously being a jerk. Mine has a panic attack and is like no we can go, I just need to calm down, I know how much you're looking forward to this. Yours is like fuck off lady, I wanna hang out with my friends, instead your family sucks, F their party. I'm not trying to brag here. I'm trying to illustrate a point. Someone who seriously loves you and wants to be in a partnership with you tries their very hardest to make you happy. He doesn't. Reply. I appreciate your frank assessment of the whole thing, and my only dissent is that he does try in other ways. He shows his love in so many other places, I just don't know how to make it clear to him that this gap is a fucking important one that he needs to fix ASAP. When asked about the banner and told she is being submissive. Yeah, my mom hung it up for the whole party to see. I was tempted to take the section with his name down, but it was too late. I don't want this post to reflect too poorly on our relationship, because as I've mentioned in other comments, we're not entirely broken. Past issues between us that I've addressed have been taken care of head-on, and he does contribute positive effort to the relationship in other areas. Just not this one as of late. If your assessment of my submissive role is correct, what's your advice for addressing it? I want to assert to you that I'm not a complete doormat with him. I damn near moved out and left him last summer because of a lack of action on a totally different issue, and when he realized I was serious he made the changes that needed to be made, and we haven't really fought about much until this point. And when I say we haven't really fought, I mean we haven't fought because there wasn't anything to fight about. I wasn't just sweeping things under the rug for the sake of harmony. We have been having a very harmonious year since the last shakeup, but realistically I can't just throw around ultimatums and pack my bags every 6 months when I don't get my way. So, how do I shake him back to reality without getting overly dramatic? Update. I just wanted to thank everyone who took the time to respond and offer their advice. After a long talk, the result was to break up because he doesn't feel the same way about me anymore. I'm heartbroken, but my brain understands and accepts his reasons. I don't feel like writing the entire saga out, I just wanted to offer an update and thank everybody who was kind enough to try and help. TLDR, clean breakup. No hostility or viciousness at all. Hopefully we'll still be friends. Final comments. Commenter 1. After a long talk, the result was to break up because he doesn't feel the same way about me anymore. I'm sorry if I sprinkled doubt on you, but this was as much a cop-out as his previous no explanations. He was never willing to go to these events with you, so it's not a result of a change in how he felt about you. So, either he never felt that way about you, or he was so loath to explore/explain his issue that he saw breaking up as the easier way out. Interesting. Consider the bullet dodged. Commenter 2. Hopefully we'll still be friends. I don't understand. To him, you were nothing more than a walking, talking sex toy that paid half of the bills for a long time. He was with you until you started getting upset at his horrendous neglect, then when you stopped being a prop by talking about how he made you feel, he decided to finally tell you that he'd lost interest in you. Your ex is a shithead. Stories number 4. AITA If I told my brother-in-law the real reason his wife left him, even though it involves my own sister. My brother-in-law, Jake, was married to my sister for about 4 years. Picture-perfect couple. Family vacations, matching Halloween costumes, that whole thing. Then like 3 months ago, boom, she leaves him out of nowhere. No real explanation. Just says, I need to find myself, and dips. Jake was wrecked. Dude genuinely thought they were solid. He's still texting me asking if she's okay, if I know what happened, if there's hope. And I've just been like, I'm not sure. She hasn't told me much either. Except here's the twist. I do know what happened. She left him for his sister. Yeah. You read that right. My sister, the wife, is now in a secret relationship with his sister, let's call her Emily. I found out by accident, walked in on them making out at our parents' house during Easter weekend. They swore me to secrecy because no one would understand and they need time. Time for what, girl? You're dating your ex-husband's sister. You created your own soap opera. So now I'm stuck in this moral limbo. Jake is devastated and still holding on to hope. He deserves to know, right? But if I say something, I'm outing 2 people, one of them being my sister, probably blowing up multiple family dynamics, and setting off a live grenade at Thanksgiving. Comments. Commenter 1. Jake deserves to know. Staying out of it only protects the shitty behavior people. Commenter 2. You need to sit your sister/assailant down and tell them either they come clean to Jake or you're telling him because what they've done is cruel and wrong and you're not going to sit back and watch Jake suffer for the sake of their affair. Make sure they know it's not about them being gay. It's about them hurting an innocent party and not doing the adult and human thing of working to minimize that harm. Commenter 3. This is what I would do as well. 'Cause he has a right to know. It would be better if it came from them or someone close. Edit, also adding it will come out anyway. So best to tell him now rather than later. They aren't trying that hard to keep it a secret at the moment. Making out at a family gathering at the parents' house. They had to know there was a chance they would be caught by someone. Stories number 5. Future ex-fiancé is angry because I don't want to share my son's money. IF35 met my fiancé 2 years ago. My son 4 gets on well with him and my ex-husband my son's father also likes him. Now to the point, 3 years ago I won a large sum of money in the lottery. Not millions, but enough for a nice life if I work normally and a good start for my son later. 75% went into a savings account that my son will have access to when he's 21. My fiancé always thought he had plenty of money and never let me correct him. I insisted on a prenuptial agreement and for that the finances were disclosed. Now the amount in my son's savings account is about 5 times more than anything my fiancé has. Completely enraged, he left the lawyer's office and ignored all calls for 2 days. For me, that was the end of the relationship and I wrote to him saying that he could have the ring back. A week later, he was at the door. He would love me, but was in shock and now wanted details of where the money had come from. He also told me that he had a 5-year-old daughter from a previous relationship and that it would only be fair to split the money so that his daughter could also benefit from it. He sees it as justified, as I got the money through luck and not through performance. I gave him back the engagement ring and kicked him out of my apartment. Since then, I've been getting messages from various social media profiles and cell phone numbers that I would be the who is ruining his daughter's future. I only found out about his daughter that day. I never saw any photos or anything like that in the past years. Comments. Commenter 1. What? Your ex-fiancé suddenly has a 5-year-old daughter. Whom you never met let alone you never knew. Commenter 2. This alone is a reason to break up. Reply, yes, for me this relationship is over. I'm just shocked at the games he's playing now. I still haven't found out whether he really has a daughter or whether he made it up so he could disappear with half the money. Commenter 3. Neither keeping his daughter a secret nor making one up to get half your money is a desirable action in a fiancé. I'm glad he's now your ex. Update. Hello everyone, thank you for your support on my original post, and sorry for the long wait for an update. After receiving many of your tips, I took my son to his grandparents, informed the police, and also my boss. Unfortunately, the police can't do much in my country as long as he doesn't commit a crime against me. Harassing me on the phone and begging for money doesn't count as a crime. I informed my boss mainly because my ex-fiancé works for a company that we deal with almost daily. That's how we originally met. In recent weeks, there have been many attempts by his friends and family to contact me, all of whom wanted to convince me to give him the money. But everyone hung up when I asked about his daughter. When my ex-fiancé showed up at my work he didn't normally have to do that after getting a promotion. My boss called my fiancé's company and explained that if he took one more step in my direction, all contracts would be cancelled due to their unacceptable behavior. This led to a meeting with my ex-fiancé's boss, my boss, and me. I didn't tell them every detail, but when it came to the money, his boss explained to me that my fiancé actually wanted to buy a large stake in the company and was allegedly just waiting for the loan to be paid out. This made it clear why he wanted my son's money so badly. My ex-fiancé is actually a highly respected employee at his company, which is why his boss was reluctant to fire him. Especially since this probably wouldn't have improved my situation, and similar to the police, his boss considered it bad behavior, but it wasn't a criminal offense. At the same time, my company is a very large client for them, and sweeping the whole thing under the rug wouldn't help. After a few days, I received the news that my ex-fiancé was being transferred to another branch of the company, several thousand kilometers away from me. The company's purchasing department also clearly rejected the purchase. Afterwards, I found out via social media that my ex-fiancé actually has a daughter. A friend was still following him on Instagram to keep an eye on him, and when she looked at his tags from the last 6 years, she actually noticed his ex, and a look at her profile showed a girl of the specified age. I contacted her and she willingly explained to me how much he actually wanted a child and how, when the ultrasound showed it was a girl, he left her. He broke off contact with the mother during the pregnancy and willingly gave up all his rights and obligations as a father. She herself is now in a happy relationship and her husband loves her daughter. She never asked my ex-fiancé for money. Following your advice regarding the savings account, I contacted our financial advisor and can now say that I must apologize to you. It is indeed a trust fund, I just hadn't referred to it as such until then, as it is mainly referred to as a savings account in my country. But yes, it is a trust fund in the American sense. I discussed with my ex-husband, the father of my son, once again how we would make the payout, and, thanks to your tips, we have now decided on a staggered payout from ages 21 to 35 so that he has a contribution for several stages of his life. The amount at age 21 has been chosen so that it can be used for college, but at the same time, it won't hurt too much if he squanders it. My question about AITA was mainly because there were actually many people in my circle who called me that because I persuaded my ex-fiancé to sign a prenuptial agreement. But for me, a prenuptial agreement was important for several reasons. To secure my son's money now I know he wouldn't have been able to get his hands on it. I started a small business in addition to my main job, nothing big at the moment, but it's still mine. I'm saving money so that I can eventually realize my dream of owning a house in Australia, and I didn't want to lose that money to him in a divorce. In retrospect, I can see how many red flags I overlooked on his part, and I will definitely be more careful in the future. Thank you for your support also via DMs. Comments. Commenter 1. Protecting your son's future doesn't make you the villain, it makes you the only one in his corner while everyone else tried to cash in. Commenter 2. Good on you, OP. You're being a great mother. Have you looked at the Australian housing market? It's brutal, and keeps growing. You might want to consider buying ASAP before it gets out of your reach. Reply. The plan is to save for another 15 years or so. I can't just now emigrate to Australia because of my son. He loves his father, who is very present in his life, and I don't want to drive a wedge between them. But I don't want to give up my son either, so we'll wait until it's clear where the future will take him. Reply. I live in Central Europe, and unfortunately, things are very country-specific here. He didn't threaten me, blackmailed me, or anything like that. He made a hell of a lot of phone calls, yes, and tried to persuade me, but nothing that could lead to a court order, according to the police or my lawyer. He didn't show up at my door, and when he showed up at my work, it was the first time I had seen him in weeks. Stories number 6. AITA for ending my marriage because I didn't want to force my kids to live with my wife's oldest daughter again. My wife and I both 30s are parents to 5 kids between us. I have 2 kids 15 and 13 with my late wife, and my wife has 3, a 16-year-old daughter with her ex-boyfriend and 2 more kids 10 and 7 with her late husband. We've been married for 4 years and we were together for 2 years prior. When we met she shared custody of her oldest daughter with her ex, and after we had been married a little while some problems started to be brought to the surface. Family members suspected she was stealing from them while there and talked about her having an attitude. Then I noticed money was missing a couple of times and we never had proof of who it was. But my wife's ex would mention something new their daughter had bought because she was such a good saver, which was not what we had experienced at all. She was someone who spent what she got the second she got it unless someone put a stop to it. And her dad was never someone who would do this. He was always the opposite from what I can tell. Then she started being more blatant about disrespect and stealing, and a little over a year after we were married her dad petitioned the courts to move out of state for work and take her with him. My wife fought against it, but her oldest wanted to go and the judge weighed that in their decision and allowed her ex to take their daughter but ordered he be responsible for paying for every visit to us. It was during her visits that she got worse about stealing. She'd wait until she was leaving and took things that were small enough that wouldn't be missed immediately. One included my 15-year-old's Nintendo Switch, or at least some parts off the Switch that she had mentioned were broken on her own Switch at her dad's house. But other things were missing after she'd leave too. My wife replaced the stuff her oldest, but after the Switch, which wasn't too long ago, I told my wife we needed to figure something out because I didn't want my kids dealing with that and that I had a duty to think of them first. While we were talking it out, her daughter asked if she could come live with us for good during her summer visit. My ex immediately said yes and she was excited. I was not. She said we could nip it in the bud now. Other families said it wouldn't be that easy because there were suspicions since she was 7 and she was getting worse. I agreed with them, but I told my wife I understood she had a duty to her daughter like I had my kids. She said it wouldn't be so bad and we'd figure it out. I told her I didn't believe that to be possible and I said I would move out with my kids. She asked me to at least talk to my kids first and see if they'd mind. But we both knew their stance already. My son said after the Switch that he didn't want to have to see her again. My wife told me we needed to work this out because her younger 2 couldn't lose me. I said I felt awful about that, but I wasn't going to make my kids live with her older daughter. My wife said I had the same duty to all 5, and if I have such a problem with her daughter's behavior I should stay and help fix it instead of running. I told her I was not willing to lose my kids over her oldest and that I would stay in the lives of the younger 2 if that's what they wanted and she would allow, but it was clear we could not make this work. My kids were so relieved when we moved out, so I knew I made the right choice. They admitted they expected her to steal all kinds of stuff from them if we stayed. I filed for divorce a couple of weeks after the kids and I moved out. My wife has tried, and failed, to get me back. Her oldest lives there now and she said we never really tried to work something out. I told her there was nothing to work out when I was clear about what I would not do. She told me the youngest 2 are the biggest sufferers because both dads chose to leave them, and how was she supposed to explain to them that their second dad put his bio kids before them. She has tried to convince me several times over that I should call off the divorce and make a go of being a family again. But I refuse. Does that make me TA? Comments. Commenter 1. NTA, she's trying to guilt trip you for being a good dad to your children when she failed as a mother. Take care of your children, they are lucky to have you. Reply. The guilt trip bothered me. I love the kids but they have her. My kids only have me and I could not sacrifice them to be there for my step-kids. Commenter 2. No, SHE put her oldest before the other 2. SHE made the choice to violate the boundaries of you and your kids. You didn't choose to leave the other 2 kids. SHE made that choice. Explain that to the kids with your wife present. BTW. She will try to spin it that you gave her an invalid ultimatum. Just to be clear, she didn't make this choice recently. SHE chose to abandon her younger kids by not being a parent to the older one when she was younger. Had she dealt with the behavior issues, stealing is rarely the only issue. I bet there is more you have not shared, it would not have reached this point. Reply. She did have an awful attitude as well. That was something that really developed over time. More recently she has denied having siblings at all because her parents don't have more kids together. There are potentially things I don't know about as well. But there were more and more complaints from others. Commenter 3. NTA. It's funny how you have an obligation to all 5 kids but she doesn't have that obligation. She was fine with letting the younger kids suffer to accommodate the oldest. It's up to her to protect the children. Not only her own kids but all kids. She's failing and is now trying to guilt trip you because she can't deal with her daughter's behavior herself. The girl will take over the house, probably by guilt tripping and manipulate her mom, your ex. You did very well in getting your children and yourself away from this. Commenter 4. Your ex-wife chose a thief over the security of your children. She had years to address the stealing problem, but insisted on burying her head in the sand. Now she is living with the consequences of her choice. I am betting her children are now the ones being stolen from. I hope your children now feel safe in their new home. Nta. Reply. My kids are enjoying our new place. They don't even mind a smaller house because it's just us, so that alone says so much. I hate that they were ever stolen from in the first place. Stories number 7. AITA for telling my GF that we need to change the way we cook our dinner. I 25M have been in a relationship with my GF 23F for 2.5 years and she moved in with me 2 months ago. Our relationship is working out great, we rarely fight, and even if we get into disagreements we usually are able to talk it through without ever getting agitated or aggressive. We both have different working hours, she works from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and I work from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. So every day I make breakfast for both of us and she makes dinner. Now my GF likes her food a lot spicier than I do. I can handle spice but I try to avoid it because eating spicy foods on a regular basis causes acne breakouts, heartburn and sometimes even diarrhea. Now ever since we have moved in together and she has started cooking dinner, she likes to make the food spicier as per her taste buds. So almost 4 to 5 days a week we eat some sort of stew/soup which will have serrano peppers, some Thai/Indian curries which have a lot of chilies. Even while making pasta she likes to add either Calabrian chilies to the sauce, and honestly it became too much for me. I have had really bad diarrhea almost twice a week. My acne is so bad that I have had coworkers and friends straight up telling me that my face looks disgusting and I take antacid/acid inhibitors almost every day. I tried to tell my GF to add less or make 2 batches of the food or maybe add hot sauce to her portion. But every time she just tells me to man up and that if I can't a little spice I should adapt since it's not always going to be in my control. Last night after dinner I told my GF that we need to figure out some other way to make dinner which keeps both of us satisfied because I can't keep eating like this at all. Once again I was met with the same thing she says always. But I held my ground this time and told her that I can in no way continue to eat the food she is making because it is actively damaging my health, and told her that I am willing to cook my own dinner from now on. She has been giving me the cold shoulder ever since and saying that I do not value her contributions to the household and that she will now have to do twice the amount of work because I am being a baby over spicy foods. Am I in the wrong here? Edit, I've been reading the comments and will talk to my GF about this once again tonight. Thank you all for your advice. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Quick question, if you are making a savory breakfast, do you make hers differently than yours since she likes spice more? Reply, so it depends, if I'm just making some scrambled eggs then I'll make mine and then add hot sauce while mixing her eggs. But I sometimes make homemade sausage patties and those I just make the same sausage mix. Then after cooking them I'll serve her sausage sandwich or whatever with some pickled peppers or stuff. Commenter 2, NTA. It is not being picky, this is regarding your health. When a person literally gives you an illness through his or her cooking, it is just right to say something. Reply, I was wondering if maybe I went about it the wrong way or if my words could be interpreted as rude, thus I made this post. Commenter 3, ugh, Reddit really would have us believe that nobody actually likes their romantic partners anymore. I know it's an incredibly skewed sample population just like how very few people who are happy with their sex life write to Dan Savage, but if a partner can't hear this thing you're doing is hurting me and respond with let's see if we can find a solution, they don't deserve your love or your respect. Reply, after reading your comment I want to defend my GF so hard, but I can't even argue with you, maybe the amount of love I'm giving her is not reciprocated by her. IDK if that is the reality but I can't bring myself to accept it. Commenter 3, I think on Reddit we as bystanders can be a bit quick to jump to you should break up because we see only the thing that is bothering the person posting and not the totality of the relationship. So I will just say, this is an area where your girlfriend does in fact need to change her behavior. She cannot continue downplaying your discomfort and health, and the phrase man up needs to exit her vocabulary yesterday. I'm sure there are areas in your relationship where you're accidentally kind of a dick too and could stand to work on yourself, but, when you are discussing this particular issue with your girlfriend, don't let her attempt to avoid accountability by pulling some version of well, you do this unrelated thing that annoys me. That can be a conversation for another day. Reply, absolutely, for X, my GF loved cosplaying and stuff like that but I was never into it. I poked fun of her regarding this a couple of times in hindsight it was not fun, just plain mean for someone who's passionate about it. When she called me out on it I stopped immediately. It was probably a whole year after the incident when I realized that I was being a dick to her. I think this is a similar situation, though I hope my GF will soon understand. I love her very much and would hate to lose her over something which can be corrected pretty easily. Thanks for your kind words Redditor. Update, AITA for telling my GF that we need to change the way we cook our dinner. It's been some time since my last post, things have been a downward slope ever since. The entire fiasco ended 4 to 5 days ago so I figured I'll post an update cause might as well. So as I had mentioned in an edit on the last post, I decided to talk to my GF about my problems once again. That night I came home a little later due to some work and my GF had made an Asian flavored curry of sort, once again, too hot for me to handle. I had one bite, could not eat at all. I told my GF once again that I cannot eat the food that she is making since it is borderline poisoning me. She rolled her eyes and just told me to fill up on plain noodles since she can't be bothered to make something else for me as she is tired. I told her that since I am anyways not eat the food she makes, I would simply start making my own dinners from now on. She blew up at me saying that if I make my own dinners then she would be forced to make her own breakfast and she does not have the time to do that. I had not even said anything about the breakfast arrangement and I would have been happy to make both of our breakfasts, but she was in no mood to listen. She ranted about the smallest of things like how I don't bother changing into home clothes before I eat dinner I just clean up, have dinner then get into the shower to get ready for bed, or how I get up later than her she has an 8 a.m. job not me, I still get up in time to make her breakfast between 7 to 7:30 a.m. etc. She ranted about all these things for maybe 10 to 15 minutes. I asked her where this was suddenly coming from since she had never mentioned anything of the sort to me. She went silent at this point and just told me to give her space and that she did not want to talk to me for the time being. I just went into the guest room and slept away from her that night. For the next couple of days we did not talk much, each made our own different meals and stayed in different rooms. On Saturday, I asked her if she wanted to go for brunch since I figured spending some quality time would make us a little relaxed and give us time to talk. When we came home again, I asked her if she wanted to talk about what had happened the other night. Again she got quiet and told me to just forget it and move on, and that the system we had in place for the past couple of days was working for both of us. I was confused because we were now living like two roommates in a shared house and not like two people in love. I told her that this system was in no way working for me. I can't just stay with someone I love without saying a single word, eating different meals sitting at the same table, sharing no time in the house. She got even more upset at me saying that I was ignoring her happiness, and got annoyed when I said that I can't just ignore my own feelings. That's when she dropped the words, "Why can't you be more like Colin?" I immediately asked who was Colin, and she stayed silent. After a lot of questioning, she said he was a guy at her workplace. Colin is in a relationship with some other girl in the same office. They are good friends with my GF. They talk about their relationship with my GF, and it seems that they have similar taste in almost all things like movies, hobbies, food, travel, etc. Me and my GF on the other hand have about a 50-50 ratio. I don't have any hobbies as such other than I like watches and watching tennis matches, while hers are cosplaying and reading. I work in a highly technical field designing construction equipment, while she and by extension Colin and his GF work in a very creative field, fashion and ornaments designing. So my GF essentially has built up a mental image that Colin is in a perfect relationship because he and his GF have the exact same interests, and TBH both of them have much more similar interest with my GF than me. So now, my GF wanted me to become more like Colin so that our relationship can become more like theirs. I tried to tell her that all relationships are different and the only thing which matters is if we are happy with each other, whether we love each other or not. She tried to end the conversation saying that she is not comfortable talking about this with me, to which I said that if she was not going to talk about this with me, who else would she talk to? She just said that she was going to stay over at a friend's house and we would talk tomorrow, and she left. At this point I was overwhelmed and confused, so I decided to spend the rest of the day searching for good couples counselors/therapists since I could see which way our relationship was gonna go. I woke up on Sunday morning and she was already home. I cooked breakfast for both of us, but she had already eaten at her friend's house. She started the conversation by saying how bad she has been and that I deserve better. I was a little confused because rather than apologizing, she was just stating all the things which made her a bad person. I told her to just come to the point, and she told me she had been approached by Colin and his GF to join their relationship as a throuple. I was silent for some time and just asked her to pack up and leave. She tried to hug me and talk to me, but I just pushed her off, told her to give me the keys before leaving, and went into the extra room and cried my heart out. She came into my room maybe 30 to 40 minutes later, started crying after seeing me. She started cursing herself out again and saying that I deserve better, but I just told her that her tears meant nothing to me. That night I got a call from an unknown number. It was fucking Colin. He started swearing at me about how I dared to make my GF cry and that he will fuck me up if he ever sees me near her. I hung up on him after telling him that he can have her to himself and I'd rather die than see her again. A couple days later, while leaving for work, I saw that someone had keyed my car and destroyed the plants I keep outside my front door. I have a suspicion about who it was, but don't have any proof, so I'm not filing any charges. I will set up cameras around my property soon though. As for my GF, she has tried calling me multiple times, but I decline every time. At first she left voicemails about how sorry she is and she just wants to talk once to get closure, but after I did not call back even once, now she is leaving comments about my past traumas and fears that I had talked to her about, even speaking about the multiple times she had Colin and his GF over to my house when I was not at home and telling me what all they had done. I am so disgusted by the fact that I wasted almost 3 years of my life with her that I started having some disturbing thoughts about myself due to this. I have been seeing a therapist regularly, also planning a weekend getaway with 2 of my best friends to Vegas for some chill time with them. Slowly but surely I am getting better, majorly due to my friends. Don't know where I'd be without those 2. I am considering selling this house and moving elsewhere due to security concerns and also some emotional reasons, but I'm not sure if that would be the right move. I am also worried that she might share my address with my family members whom I'm on NC with. I think I added this in a comment too, so that is another factor. I'm trying to get an internal transfer at my current company since I like the working culture, but if that does not work I might just look for jobs in other cities too. I don't know, I haven't had enough time to deal through all of this shit as of now. My main focus was just making sure I don't do something hugely damaging to myself. Now that I've had 2 to 3 weeks to cool down, get at least some amount of control over myself, I'll start looking at the longer picture. I don't think there will be any more updates after this. Hopefully my life just becomes a little boring after this so that I can live peacefully for some time now. Thanks to all the strangers who helped me here, you all saved me from a disaster waiting to happen. Top comments. Commenter 1, so, I love spicy food, like super hot, and my now wife while we were dating said, "Oh, this is too spicy for me." I said, "Oh, okay." I'll add the peppers at the end for me next time and did that, and that was the end of that issue. Your ex is truly unhinged, and yeah you should move. NTA on any level. She sucks. Commenter 2, NTA. Sorry for you. Remember, this is her issue, not yours. She cheated in your house and then bragged about it. You'll realize in time that she was so wrong for you. Stories number 8. My mom hates me because I won't sign over my half of the house. I 21F and my mom 50F just got my childhood home signed over to both of us. 50/50ths. For a little backstory, my parents got divorced when I was 8. In court the judge told my mother she had 60 days to get out of my dad's house. My mom turned around after court and told my dad she would move me into a trailer park and raise me like white trash, and that's what his daughter would turn out to be, so me dad let her stay in the house. They had an agreement notarized stating that he would pay for the house in lieu of child support. The notarized paper said that he would sign the house over to her when it was paid off. He did that. He paid it off 2 months ago and put it in both mine and my mom's name. My dad knows how my mom is and knows that I would be kicked out immediately. If he didn't put me on the house somewhere, the paper never stated that it wholly had to go to her. Last night we got the deed with both of our names on it and she lost it and told me I needed to sign my half over to her, the house on market books for $200,000. I told her I would take $75K from my half. Now the family is torn. Some people are telling me that I just need to sign it over and the other is telling me I either need to keep it or buy her half, but she won't sell me her half. I don't know what I'm looking for, if it's legal advice or just a vent, but I'm not sure who's in the right here. Comments. Commenter 1. Don't sign it over to her. If she wants the money out of it, you and she can sell the house and split the money, but you don't owe her your half ever. Your mom is a piece of work. Reply. She wants the house so she won't sell it. She said she's going to try to sue me for it. I've been talking with my dad and he's getting me a legal team ready. To my understanding there's nothing she can do about this. Commenter 2. Don't sign anything and do not give her your half. Your dad put half in your name for a reason. She can buy you out or give you half of the proceeds. Period. Otherwise she can take you to court. Don't allow her to kick you out legally. She can't because you're on the deed. Be prepared for her to try and make it miserable so that you want to leave. Commenter 3. Okay, so here's the deal. Once someone threatens legal action, you drop all the communication about the matter. As you live in the same space, make sure she doesn't have access to your phone or laptop. If she talks to you about it as you have threatened legal action, I've been advised to not discuss this matter with you, same with texts or emails. Totally stonewall her. Also, fuck every person who tells you need to sign it over. They are either stupid or malicious, because everyone knows what this means. Your mother has seemingly gotten her way in life by threatening people. She has nothing on you. I think the lawyers will also advise her of that. Cut contact with her. She does not care about you, not a bit. You said yourself, she would kick you out immediately if she had the chance, and that's what she is planning to do. Sorry that you have to through this. Stories number 9. AITA for refusing to pay rent at my uncle's house after they took me in for 2 years. I 18F have been living at my uncle's house, Adam 49M and Melissa 47F for 2 years. This happened after the sudden passing of my parents. When they took me in, they were quite relaxed with me for a few weeks and then went back to their regular ways. They were a little strict, but nothing too extreme. There were some restrictions that were different, but eventually nothing ended up being a big deal. A few weeks ago, my uncle and aunt sat me down and asked me to begin paying rent, additionally with a little backlog, but I could take my time on that. I told them I couldn't do that, because I couldn't afford it. All the money I was saving was going straight to my college fund, and to afford 2 years' rent plus every month from now on would mostly drain me. Adam and Melissa just shrugged and asked me to figure it out as best I can. Today, at breakfast I told them I would stay with my boyfriend, Elias 19M. His parents and him invited me to stay once they heard me talking about the issue. They have a 2-story with 2 free rooms currently, so they told me whichever room I wanted was free. Elias and I had been dating for 3.5 years. I'd stayed at his family's house often over the years. As I was packing, Adam and Melissa came into my room to forbid it. They are extremely conservative Christians and said it's not a good look. They said I owed them something for the years they took care of me. They really were great the 2 years I stayed there, very comforting, very kind people. But I just don't want to give up my college dreams. I'm at my Elias house right now and am honestly feeling bad, like I deserted them. They really were fantastic people. Comments. Commenter 1. Conservative Christians who think you owe them for taking you in as an orphan. Such Christianism. Much generous. Such wow. NTA. Commenter 2. They are not fantastic people. They asked an orphan to back pay rent, which wasn't agreed upon or indicated that would be expected. Did your parents leave you anything? I would check with other family that they didn't take it from you. Look, I'm okay with charging adult kids who are working a nominal amount to contribute to the household. But back pay is next level. Absolutely, do not give up in your college fund. Commenter 3. They were probably receiving money to help with your upkeep and costs that may have stopped due to you turning 18, so they need to get that money from somewhere else. Commenter 4. They probably received government benefits from your parents for you. Check into it. You were entitled to benefits from Social Security until you turned 18. I bet they already received payment, and now that you are 18 and payments have stopped they want the money to keep coming in. Stories number 10. AITA for revoking my MIL's baby monitor access after a comment she made while I was breastfeeding. I 32F have a 3-month-old baby with my husband 31M. His mom lives across the country, we're on the East Coast, she's in California, and to be honest, she's always been a little intense. Not a full-blown monster-in-law, but def more involved than I'm used to. Like, she's the kind of woman who will call to say she saw a cuter outfit for the baby than the one I posted on IG. Anyway, when our baby was born, my MIL asked if she could have access to the baby monitor so she could see her grandchild grow up from afar. I was a little iffy on it, but my husband thought it would be sweet and would help her feel more connected, since she can't visit often. So I agreed. We have a Nanit camera in the nursery which lets you view the video feed from anywhere. What I didn't realize is that she'd be watching us all the time. Like, not just the baby sleeping. She comments on things she has no business even noticing. Like the other day, I was breastfeeding in the nursery. I wear a robe cause it's more comfy, and a few hours later she texted my husband saying, "Tell my name, I'd be happy to send her a nicer robe, that red one's looking a little raggedy." Like. What? Excuse me, I was so creeped out. I mean, that was clearly during a private moment, not just the baby napping. I told my husband and he kinda just shrugged it off. He said something like, she doesn't mean anything by it. She's just observant. I grew up like that. We never had real privacy in the house. Okay, but, we're not kids anymore. And she's not even here. She also makes weird little passive-aggressive comments. Like if the baby cries for a while, she'll text things like, "Poor little guy, someone must be tired today," grimacing face, or "I would have picked him up sooner, but you're the mama." Which feels like she's judging me but trying to play it off as casual. And she always acts like she's trying to help, but it's in a way that makes me feel like I'm constantly being watched and judged. It's not mean, just kinda, boundary pushy. So I changed the settings on the camera so she can't access it anymore. I didn't announce it, I just did it. She texted my husband asking if something was wrong with her app, and now he's mad at me for making it a thing. He says it was harmless and now she feels cut off, and I could have just told her instead of going behind everyone's back. I told him I didn't think I needed permission to stop someone from watching me in my own house. He says I overreacted. I feel like I'm losing my mind a little because to me this is a huge privacy issue, but maybe I'm being dramatic. I just don't want someone literally across the country watching me breastfeed and make comments on my clothes and parenting. So. AITA. Comments. Commenter 1. Nta. Tell him you'll set up the nanny cam in his office/man cave and his mom can watch him. Solve both of their problems. Your parenting is between you and him. She is not a third parent and it's high time she was reminded of that. Commenter 2. NTA, that's invasive and creepy. I would feel incredibly violated if someone was always watching and making comments like that. If you are at all interested in compromise full disclosure, I would not be. Maybe you can agree to turn it on at specific times so she can visit, like nap time or playtime. Commenter 3. She should ask the husband how he would feel if she sets up a camera in his room so mommy can have access to his private moments and make comments about him when he's half naked. When he says it's not the same, and he will ask him how it's okay for his creepy mother to watch her in a private moment versus him. Just because there's also a baby in the room doesn't make it any less weird that she can spy on them whenever she wants. Commenter 4. NTA EW no. Grandma can FaceTime with the baby like everyone else does. I would hate the feeling of constantly being watched in my own home. Stories number 11. AITA for refusing to pay my boyfriend's portion of rent after he quit his job without telling me. I'm 24F and I've been living with my boyfriend 27M for a little over a year. We split rent 50/50 and keep our finances separate. Everything was going fine until a few weeks ago. I started noticing he was home way more than usual. I asked about it and he just said he was taking some time off. Cool, whatever. Then a friend of his casually mentioned that he had actually quit his job. That was the first I heard of it. So I asked him straight up, and yeah, turns out he just quit. No notice, no conversation with me. His reasoning was that he felt burned out and needed to reset. I'm not unsympathetic to that at all, but I feel like quitting your job without a plan or at least talking to the person you live with is a massive red flag. Now here's the kicker. He fully expected me to just cover rent and bills for the next couple of months while he figures things out. I told him I couldn't do that. I work full-time, pay my own bills, and I'm not in a position to carry both of us, especially not without a heads up. He's now saying I'm unsupportive and selfish. Even his mom got involved and called me out, saying I should be standing by him. She literally blocked me after I told her I'm not a bank. I feel bad, but I'm also just, really frustrated. If he had talked to me first, maybe we could have come up with something. But the fact that he made this decision solo and just expected me to deal with it doesn't sit right. Comments. Commenter 1, NTA. He made an adult decision, he can face adult consequences. Quitting your job without telling your partner is wild. That's not burnout, that's irresponsibility. Reply. I would have been more understanding if he had even tried to talk to me first. But I got blindsided and now I'm the bad guy. Commenter 2. Wait. His mom got involved. Why are moms always jumping in like it's a middle school fight? Reply. She said I was abandoning him and I'm like, your son's job now is napping through my Zoom meetings. Commenter 3. I would break up over this. He is not a good long-term partner. He is not dependable. He is the opposite of dependable. He is willing to cost you a lot of money/sanity at random times and expects you to figure out how to support him. Don't fall for it. He will always be like this. At least you found out early-ish in the relationship and aren't married to him. Reply. Thank you. If I'm already doing it all alone, might as well actually be alone. Commenter 4, NTA. So he's expecting to just leech off you indefinitely while he sits at home on his ass? Fuck that. I'd consider leaving someone who is this manipulative and selfish. Tell his mom she can support him. Reply. Right? Like if he's so burned out, maybe his mom can cover his rent while he vibes at home. I'm not his girlfriend and his landlord. Stories number 12. I'm getting my arm amputated tomorrow and I am excited about it. I was born with amniotic band syndrome on my arm. Amniotic band syndrome occurs when the lining of the amniotic sac is damaged during pregnancy. This creates string-like strands of tissue in which the fetus gets tangled. These strands called amniotic bands may wrap around different parts of the developing body. This cuts off constricts blood flow and keeps the baby from growing normally. The constricted blood flow causes a wide range of birth defects. My arm is dead weight. I can't move it and the entire thing is either numb or has nerve pain. When I was little I begged my parents to get my arm removed. It hurts so bad sometimes. But they always said no and my grandparents and my aunt agreed with my parents. Even my younger sister does now. They don't know what it is like to have a limb I can't use and only causes me pain. I was forced to wear long sleeves all the time so my arm would look normal. As soon as I turned 18 I went to the doctor to see about an amputation. It sounds extreme but this is actually a common thing for amniotic band syndrome. Like me asking for it isn't some out there request and the doctors agreed with me. Anyways, I'm sure my friends are tired of hearing about how excited I am even though they would never say that. So I'm getting off my chest that I am so excited for tomorrow and I can't wait to be rid of my useless and painful arm. I have never wanted anything more in my life. I'm 18 and my family can't stop me now. ETA, thank you all for the support and kind messages. Comments. Commenter 1. You're the one who has to live with a non-functioning arm or live without it and you've had a very long while to make up your mind. This is your decision and other people will just have to get the fuck over it if they don't like it. Tell anyone who says something negative about the decision that you had the doctor save the arm and they can have it attached to them if they like it so much. Commenter 2. Exactly. A bit selfish of his family to not let him have it amputated sooner. Commenter 3. Well now that's quite disarming. Reply, LOL thanks for the laugh. Update. I-21F was born with amniotic band syndrome. My arm was affected. I couldn't move or lift or my arm. It was dead weight. The amniotic band syndrome meant that my arm didn't develop correctly so it wasn't like having a dead weight, unusable arm hanging at my side like a normal arm does. My arm hung differently. I couldn't move it or use it at all. The only feeling I had from it was either numbness or pain. Imagine having an arm hanging from your shoulder and chest that was dead weight, where you could feel the heaviness but couldn't lift it or move or use it like a normal arm, and the only feeling you got from it was either pain or being numb. And couldn't untwist it into a more comfortable or natural position. That was me. My parents refused to have my arm amputated even though that's a normal thing for children with amniotic band syndrome and doctors recommended it. I always had to wear long sleeves and I had to act like my arm was normal. I know now that my parents are the kind of people who act like they are special and important for having a disabled child, but they only acted like that in front of others. Meanwhile, I had to hide it and then pretend I had a normal arm. Doctors told my parents I was in pain. It was obvious before I could even talk. There was no reason for that. My parents are educated. They aren't religious and they believe in science. But they never listened to any doctors. I spent my entire life in pain. I didn't finish school. I left before I was 18 because of the pain. I never ever slept enough. I couldn't ever have a job. I couldn't do stuff other kids did. I don't talk to my family anymore because of it. As soon as I turned 18, I went to see a doctor by myself without my parents. The doctor agreed that my arm should have been amputated when I was a baby. I was sent to a specialist and there was no disagreement from about doing amputation surgery. All of the medical professionals who were involved said they had never seen an adult in my situation before because the surgery is done on babies and sometimes young children. My parents, my siblings, and all the rest of relatives tried to talk me out of the surgery. But like I said, I don't talk to them anymore. It will be 3 years in October since I had my arm amputated. I had what's called a shoulder disarticulation and I have no regrets at all. I had the odd phantom ache or twinge right after the surgery, but that went away shortly afterwards. And those aches and twinges were nothing compared to the pain I had my whole life. I am still amazed at what it is like to have a life with no pain. After the surgery I had to learn to walk and balance again since the weight of my arm was missing. But now I am able to do everything I couldn't do before. I got a part-time job after the surgery and now I have a full-time with my provincial government. I went back to finish school and now in September I'm starting university part-time at night. I can't go full-time during the day because I need to work full-time. It will take me longer to earn my degree, but I'm still going to do it. I want to be an accountant. I don't regret having the surgery. I am fine only having one arm. The one thing that is a bit annoying is having to take shirts and tops to a tailor to get the entire sleeve removed, because if I don't go to a tailor the fabric from the unused sleeve gets in the way. But that isn't a big deal compared to what having my arm was like. I know you shouldn't hate people, but I hate my family for denying me a life like this. I went to therapy after I got my full-time job to work on this, but I still hate them some days. I forget I posted here until a while ago, but I wanted to post one more time because most people left kind comments or sent kind messages after my last post. Almost all of them were nice. I don't regret getting my arm amputated and I would rather only have one arm if means not having dead weight for an arm and pain. I don't care if anyone thinks I am wrong about my arm. I'll only have one arm for the rest of my life, but I don't regret getting rid of my useless arm. Comments. Commenter 1. I'm so glad you were able to get this done. And it's impressive that, on your own, you've been able to put your life together in such a great way. Like you, I don't think I'd ever be able to forgive my parents for their neglect. Commenter 2. Based on province and university I'm betting Canadian. So it wasn't even the cost of the surgery impacting your parents' decision. I'm sorry, instead of being your biggest advocate they made life harder. Commenter 3. Most Canadian provinces, such as Ontario, have a mature minor doctrine, where minors under 18 can consent to medical procedures without their parents' permission. They need to be of sound mind and mature enough to know the situation and potential issues that may arise. But it's perfectly legal. I know it doesn't help OP, but they could have approached a doctor earlier and most likely have gotten it done sooner, as it sounded like they would have been mature enough to qualify. Reply. No. You think I didn't try that? Respectfully, you have no idea what I did or didn't do. I begged my parents and doctors for amputation surgery my entire life. Even when I got older, every single doctor I went to said they couldn't do it without the consent of my parents. I even tried talking to a lawyer one time. It was hard to find one since I didn't have any money, but even he said that if I wasn't an adult my parents had the final say. Doctors and a lawyer said there was no way under any law or policy. Even if the doctors disagreed with my parents, don't you think if I could have had it done sooner I would have? I have wanted this since I was old enough to understand what pain is. I would have given anything to have the surgery. I would have actually sold my soul if it was possible. You have no idea how much I tried. Don't just casually say I could have had it done sooner. It is easy to say that from in front of your screen or keyboard, but you have no idea what it was like for me. Stop acting like it was that easy. I'm proof it wasn't. Commenter 4. I was born with amniotic band syndrome too. My arm was amputated at birth, but about 20 years ago I had to have the rest of it amputated to my shoulder. Have you ever known anyone else with amniotic band syndrome? I have known a few people and people who have had miscarriages due to it. All of the people affected by it that I've known have been female, including myself. Best wishes to you. Instead of a high five, I'm giving you an internet nub 5. Commenter 5. My boyfriend has it. He was born without a hand. Like there's little tiny bones in there, and you can see tiny little bumps where fingers would have been. NGL, I'm extremely curious to see an X-ray of his nub, but other than that it's a regular, pain-free arm. I'm sorry it has been a physically painful thing for you guys, that really sucks. Commenter 6. Finally a post that actually fits this sub. Stories number 13. I've been lying to my female friend for many years. I have been very close friends with this girl 20F since early high school. I'll get straight to the point, I am very physically attracted to her. I think she is genuinely breathtakingly beautiful, hot, pretty, etc. She has no idea, I promise you I know for a fact she doesn't. For all she knows I don't even like women. I have absolutely zero romantic interest in her. She's an incredible friend but I have never once ever had any interest in dating her. Despite how deep my attraction is to her, I know if she ever found out I felt this way, she would be uncomfortable and it might risk the closeness of our friendship. Since nobody else knows, my initial plan was to just casually get over it, but all these years later and absolutely nothing has changed. She is perfectly my type and I don't think I have ever found anyone this attractive. I don't plan on telling her, I consider it a white lie. But it's clear to me every now and then she feels safer, more comfortable being touchy around me or showing a certain amount of skin around me or sharing certain details to me because she believes there's zero chances of me being into it. And when we're together in person it's very easy to be respectful and not creepy, the bar for men is incredibly low. I personally don't see anything wrong with it. You can't control how you feel, and I absolutely don't want to damage our friendship when I don't have to. But what do you guys think? Edit, I am not romantically interested in her. Comments. Commenter 1. It surprises me that you're such good friends yet she doesn't know your sexual orientation. Reply. I am bi, she is aware of this. We just don't really talk about my sexuality much because there's really not much to it. I don't have a love life, I never had and likely never will due to sincere disinterest. And I am not remotely attractive or a hypersexual person, so we don't talk about that either. So she has every right to not suspect a thing. She is the exception to the rule. Commenter 2. I don't understand how you can have absolutely zero romantic interest in her with this whole description of your attraction toward her. Stories number 14. AITA for telling my daughter her much older boyfriend isn't welcome in our home. My F48 husband am 46 and I have a 20-year-old daughter, Ellie, who is currently on vacation from college. About 5 months or so ago, Ellie told us that she had a new boyfriend who I'll call Tom. This came rather out of the blue as Ellie hadn't mentioned seeing anyone or that she was dating, but both my husband and I were supportive and happy for her. However, Ellie was strangely secretive about the whole situation. Usually, she's an open book especially with me and would always share details of her personal life. On this occasion, she wouldn't show any pictures, and we knew next to no information about Tom, other than that they met at a party through a mutual friend. Ellie spent the past month of her vacation in her college town and the plan was always for her to come back this weekend. Ellie asked if she could bring Tom with her for a few days of the trip as they were getting serious, and she wanted him to meet us. Although we mentioned that we knew barely anything about him, Ellie expressed that it would be a surprise and that we'd love him. Given he's clearly an important part of our daughter's life, we agreed and said we'd look forward to spending the weekend together. Yesterday morning, we went to pick up Ellie and Tom from the airport to drive them to our place and we were shocked. We knew instantly that Tom was much older than Ellie and he certainly wasn't a college student. I was just in a state of surprise but didn't want to cause a scene and told my husband to do the same. We drove home but it was a frosty journey, which Ellie commented on. When we arrived, my husband point blank asked Tom how old he was. Tom said he was 44. I was immediately disgusted. He's only 2 years younger than my husband and old enough to be Ellie's father. My husband continued to interrogate him, asking how they met and the whole background. Ellie explained that it was at a party and Tom was there because he's well known around the town and they realized they had a lot in common and hit it off from there. I really didn't want to hear any more, and my husband told Tom to leave. Ellie shouted and said how unfair this was and we hadn't even given Tom a chance and that he made her happy. Tom could sense the tension so left and Ellie followed behind him. I texted Ellie to tell her we'd love to see her and to come over to discuss the situation. She asked if Tom was welcome, and I said he wasn't. Therefore, after labeling me a judgmental ****, she told me she wasn't coming and that they would be staying at a local hotel and catching up with friends. I feel terrible about the whole situation and don't want to lose my daughter over it. My husband isn't budging and says he'd have to be held back if he ever saw that man again. Am I AITA for saying he isn't welcome or have I done the right thing? Update, AITA for telling my daughter her much older boyfriend isn't welcome in our home. First off, I wanted to thank everyone for their comments and messages yesterday. I was overwhelmed with the responses and didn't expect my post to gain so much attention. I know opinions were quite split, but I appreciate everyone for being honest. Please accept my apologies for not responding to anyone, but there has been a lot on my mind so I thought it would be best to provide an update for those interested. For those who haven't read the whole post, a brief summary is my 20-year-old daughter, Ellie, brought home her boyfriend of 5 months, Tom, to our house. Tom happens to be 44, and my husband and I told Tom that he wasn't welcome in our home. Ellie and Tom are currently staying in a nearby hotel. I was incredibly down throughout most of Sunday, so I spoke to my husband and said that I really wanted to see Ellie. However, I knew that wouldn't be possible without also seeing Tom, so I mentioned to my husband about meeting Ellie and Tom at a neutral location for brunch today. I asked my husband if he wanted to join, but he said he didn't feel in the right frame of mind at this stage, so we agreed that I would go alone. I was anxious throughout the drive but when I met Ellie, those nerves subsided relatively quickly. I was generally just happy to see her and that she was well. I still felt a bit uncomfortable around Tom, but I thought this was the opportunity to find out more about him and his intentions as it were. We sat down and I tried to find out as much information about Tom as possible. When I asked him to elaborate on being known around a college town and being at the same party as Ellie, Tom said he used to go to the same college when he was Ellie's age, loved the place and decided to never leave. Throughout his time, he still frequented the main bars and places that college students do, which meant he remained in the community in some form. I found it quite an unsettling response but remained polite. In terms of other details I learned, Tom has never been married, nor does he have any children. He works as a software engineer and enjoys cooking and meditation in his spare time. Something felt off about him, but maybe I already had my preconceptions. Ellie spoke more about what a good match they were and how much in common they had. When I asked her to elaborate, she spoke about how they both love the same spots around town and campus with apparently the same love of sushi, and she's never met someone so mature and understanding. Tom also said that Ellie was perfect for him and he was serious. I probed if he'd had many other relationships with younger women. Ellie didn't enjoy this question, but Tom said that he generally didn't do relationships, yet something about Ellie had drawn him in. Eventually, after about 2 hours, we ended the brunch. Ellie said how nice it had been and she was so happy I had shown an interest in Tom before asking whether they could both come to dinner some evening. I told her that would be nice, but I would have to speak to her dad. Tom shook my hand and that was that. My husband remains reluctant, but I feel it's the right thing to do if we want to maintain a relationship with Ellie. I didn't like Tom off first impressions and this hasn't done much to convince me. Something is just off there and some of his answers solidified my thoughts about him not being right for Ellie. I suppose I'll have to remain open-minded but appreciate any thoughts. Update, AITA for telling my daughter her much older boyfriend isn't welcome in our home. First off, apologies to everyone for not updating sooner and my lack of replies. I post and read everyone's replies and messages, but it's so overwhelming that I struggle to know who to respond to. However, a lot has happened in the past week and enough people asked for an update so I thought I would provide one. For context for those who haven't read the original post and first update, my 20-year-old daughter Ellie brought home her boyfriend, Tom, from college for the first time. He turned out to be 44, and it's been a huge shock to my husband and I. I met him without my husband and my daughter for brunch without feeling entirely comfortable about the situation, but my biggest priority is not losing my daughter. After I came home from brunch, I spoke to my husband about the possibility of Tom and Ellie joining us for dinner one evening. My husband was completely against it, but I told him that if we still wanted to exercise some degree of control over the situation before we pushed Ellie away entirely, this was something we had to agree to. It took a lot of convincing but my husband agreed and we invited Tom and Ellie to come round the Saturday just gone. Before then, I ended up talking to my oldest daughter and Ellie's sister, Holly 23 about the situation. Holly was shocked and Ellie had told her nothing. Holly decided to do some social media digging but struggled because Tom didn't have much of an online presence. She said she was coming to dinner on Saturday, although I was reluctant because it seemed like it would spiral. I eventually said yes. So, we get to the dinner on Saturday, and Holly just continually grills Tom. It was far, far worse than I did. She asked him if younger girls were his type, why someone his age is still hanging around at college parties and other small remarks. Ellie told her multiple times to leave her alone, and I tried to act as a mediator. My husband was just silently seething, and I could tell how uncomfortable he felt in Tom's presence. Eventually, Tom and Ellie said they had some big news to share. Ellie announced that she and Tom were planning to move in together for the upcoming college year. I almost spat my drink out. Ellie had planned to live with other friends, and when I questioned this, Tom answered that he realized that he probably won't have another long-term relationship. Ellie makes him so happy, and he doesn't want to waste any time with who I want to be my wife and the future mother of my children. At this point, my husband lost it and told Tom to get out of his house. Tom stood up and seemed affronted and Ellie started crying. I couldn't remember the last time my husband had shouted like that, and I think it surprised Ellie. Holly said it was deserved and said she needed to get away from the pedo freak. It all ended up with Ellie leaving in tears with Tom, my husband going upstairs, and I was just inconsolable. I've reached out to Ellie since but she hasn't responded. I don't want her to move in with Tom and it seems he's trying to derail her whole life. She's 20 and does not need to be married and have kids, especially with someone his age. She's never had a relationship before though, and she appears infatuated to the extent she's not going to listen. My husband has told me that if Ellie marries Tom, that is it and he wouldn't want a relationship with her going forwards. I can't agree with that and will always love Ellie, but it doesn't mean that the whole situation hasn't made me incredibly sad. Update, AITA for telling my daughter her much older boyfriend isn't welcome in our home. So much has happened since then that has been so overwhelming that it caused me to completely forget about this. However, I stumbled upon this Reddit account earlier today and due to the amount of messages I received, I feel compelled to share an update. For those who don't want to read the whole post, the long and the short of it is Ellie is engaged and pregnant. The engagement happened around January, after only around a year of dating, and the pregnancy was announced in March. Ellie is keeping the baby and is due late this year. I'm still heartbroken and struggling to come to terms with the whole affair. Ellie was so bright, cheery, and with an active social life. Now she lives with Tom in her college town despite having dropped out of college herself due to the pregnancy with barely any friends due to most of them distancing themselves from her because of Tom. My husband is also low contact with Ellie and wants nothing to do with Tom, while my daughter Holly also feels the same way and wants nothing to do with Ellie or her baby for as long as she remains with the predator. I still keep in contact with Ellie as much as I can, not only because I love her but also as I know that if things crumble, she'll have no one to turn to. She's ostracized herself, which makes me incredibly sad, and I never thought things would turn out this way. There was a glimmer of hope around March time, where Ellie called me on the phone in tears after discovering that Tom had cheated on her unsurprisingly, with another college student, and an even younger one than Ellie. Although I did try and talk some sense into her and figured this would be a wake-up call, she decided to stay with him after a combination of love bombing and finding out she was pregnant. The wedding has been set for next summer so the baby can be focused on now. My husband and other daughter have already decided they won't go and many others on my side of the family are uncomfortable with the idea. I'm trying to stay strong and hope I will love my grandchild but this isn't something that will ever get easier. If there are any other groundbreaking updates, I will try to share, if not, I appreciate everyone's support and advice. It really meant more than you know. Stories number 15. Am I the AITA for not giving my ex a second chance after the humiliating breakup? I 21F was dating James 23M fake name for 3 years ago. I want to start that I'm a shy and super quiet person to be with, even with him I always had a hard times to talk and speak about my days or whatever was happening in my life without getting nervous speaking about it. James on the other hand he is a social butterfly, he's talkative, has large group of friends and can even make conversations in seconds with people he knows on the streets. Long story short, he will usually drag me to his friends' parties or social hangouts so I could be friends with his friends but it never worked out. Most of his friends will not let me speak or talk without getting boring and just shoving me to the side. I had brought this up to James but he brushed it out as they're just not patient like that or they don't mean to be rude but I personally don't see like that, so I'm not like a toxic girlfriend or anything. I never looked at his phone to check if he's cheating or anything but I was so insecure how a lot of his girlfriends will hit on him in front of me without any reason whatsoever. The day of the breakup happened on a party of his friends, and again I tried my best to socialize with his friends, but there was no use. What happened is that I told James the first was going to go get some more snacks for the party, and that's when out of nowhere he snapped at me saying, "See, you're just finding an excuse to leave the party. That's why my friends don't like you." I was speechless, so I told him I wasn't leaving, I was just getting snacks, and that's when he had dropped the bomb and said he's done with me and to never contact him again, loud and clear for the entire room of people to hear. And then his friends started cheering like they just kicked out a rude friend or something. I wanted to cry so bad, so I left, and good thing I had my car with me, because on the way back home I bawled my eyes out like I've never cried in my life. I blocked him everywhere, and so did with his friends. I felt so humiliated by the fact he didn't even decide to have a decent conversation alone without anyone hearing us speak, or I don't know, I just felt horrible how his friends started cheering him for breaking up with me like that. Fast forward to today. I had already moved on and was doing great when I got a long text message from a random number that had the same area code from my town. It was James. He started the message with how he's been doing in his life and yada yada. Then he said he had been in 3 relationships after our breakup, and he said he didn't felt the same when he was with me. All the girls he dated even cheated on him or were too toxic and abusing, so he reached out to see if we can start again and give him another chance to be together. I was stunned. This man, after he humiliated me in front of his so-called friends, wanted a second chance because I was the only girl who didn't complain about his life and whatnot. I was angry. I told him that I don't think it was a good chance to try a relationship again because we were not even compatible to begin with, and that I was sorry for all the relationships he had troughed the years didn't work as expected, but I just couldn't trust him, or even I don't think I could fall in love with him again. This man didn't even apologize to begin with, so after I sent the message I blocked the number and went on my day. Now I'm getting angry messages of his friends calling me a asterisk and a SL asterisk T for not giving him chance, and even to the point to bombard my phone with calls every single day. So Reddit, am I the AITA for refusing to give him a second chance? I just don't know what else to do. Top comments. Commenter 1, absolutely fucking not. He sounds like a bellend. Think about how the future looks even if you did give him a second chance. You can't trust him, his friends sound like arseholes, and he doesn't understand you as a person whatsoever. He didn't even have the common decency to have a 1-2-1 conversation with you and totally embarrassed you at a party where you had nobody. He's been fucked over since you broke up and realized which side he likes his bread buttered. Well, too late, sunshine, tell him to swivel. Commenter 2, send him screenshots of the text messages and let him know this is one of the reasons why you will never get back with him. Additionally, let him know that if his friends continue with the harassment you will take legal action against them. Commenter 3, your NTA, he's using those same friends who made you feel humiliated and embarrassed to try to force you to give him a second chance. Stand your ground, you're more than in the right. You don't deserve to be treated like that. He sounds toxic and immature, using others to pressure you. You were nice about how you didn't want to give it a second try, and he should understand and respect that. Not use others to scare you. Commenter 4, save all the conversations and numbers. Give it a maximum of 2 or 3 days, and if they keep going, then consider getting authorities involved. Make sure to get a safety network, family, and friends aware of the situation. Do not let them break your will or spirit. Update. I decided to take your advice and screenshotted all the messages that James' friends had sent to me throughout the week about me being the afterwards, and unblocked James and send all the screenshots to him. You won't believe it, but this man finally decided to believe me and apologized about his friend's behavior and how he didn't want this to go as far as it got. I've told him that this is one of the many reasons of why I can't give him another chance, because of the behavior of his friends were unbelievable behavior, and it just throws me off how I'm the youngest of the group who knows how to act like an adult. I also dropped the bomb on him that I'm seeing someone just talking stage, nothing serious just yet, that is taking their sweet time to know me as a person, and that's why I won't let him have another chance, because I'm not going for old scraps. He apologized again and even also said he just wanted to keep in contact with me because he thinks he owes it to me for all the trouble he caused. Don't know what he meant by that. By the time I wanted to finish the conversation, he told me that during our time together he had cheated with one of his girl's friends, so that also explains why he broke up with me that time, because he was sneaking around the stupid blonde sorority girl because she was better than me. Something like that. Saw it coming, not going to lie, but for some reason it did hurt now even though it's been a while. He said he wanted some closure and telling me this was the end of it. I blocked him again, lol, and now my phone is finally back to being silent since I stopped getting calls and messages. Even his mom texted me saying sorry for his son's behavior, so that's that. I want to appreciate those who convinced me not to give him another chance. I'm too much of a people pleaser and I just couldn't handle the stress that I was in the wrong. Thank you all of you. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, good for you. You stood up for yourself and let him know he is basically scum. He was right, he will never find anyone as wonderful as you. Sucks to be him. Commenter 2, so messed up, he was getting treated like he had been treating you and he wanted his punching bag back. Good for you for letting him know he's pathetic and you were a catch. Commenter 3, he's full of shit. He knew exactly what he friends were doing and saying to you. He fucking put them up to it to manipulate and bully you into giving him another chance. Once he saw you had everything screenshotted, he knew they could all get into trouble if you reported it. So he acted all apologetic and ignorant. Good for you for standing your ground and telling him where to go. Glad you told him you were seeing someone who was already treating you better than he ever did. Commenter 4. He apologized again and even also said he just wanted to keep in contact with me because he thinks he owes it to me for all the trouble he caused. Don't know what he meant by that. Pretty sure what he means is that he figures he'll be able to get in your pants later. Reply, honestly that's what I'm thinking, but as of right now he's blocked everywhere, now hopefully I don't find him in the streets. Stories number 16. AIO for telling my wife I will leave if she won't institutionalize our son. My wife 42F and I 43M have a son, Leo 13M. For years, his behavior has been disturbing and dangerous. He's lied compulsively, been cruel to animals, and now he's stealing and physically harming other kids. Therapists have used words like conduct disorder and one even suggested he's very possibly a sociopath in the making when I pressed her, even though he can't be diagnosed at this age. I live in constant fear of what he'll do next. I've researched our options and believe the only safe path is to have him placed in a state-run therapeutic facility. Can't afford private with our insurance. It's not about giving up, but getting him into a system equipped to handle this level of behavior, and most importantly, protecting others. My wife is in complete denial. She says he's just misunderstood and refuses to consider institutionalization. She believes I'm a cold-hearted monster for even suggesting it. I told her I can't live in this fear and if she won't agree to this for the safety of everyone, I will leave. She says I'm abandoning my family. AIO for giving my wife this ultimatum about our son. Comments. Commenter 1. Have you considered putting up some discreet cameras to capture what he's doing at home? You mentioned in a comment that he's manipulative and doesn't do anything in front of your wife, but I don't see how she can stay in denial if you show her a bunch of videos. Either way, I'm of the opinion he needs to be institutionalized before he crosses a line and does something that causes serious harm or worse. Commenter 2. Looking at the comments, he's physically violent with you, said he wants to skin you alive, refuses his medication and outpatient therapy. I really don't understand what else your wife expects you to do, get slapped around by your son. I imagine the old Southern solution would be to beat the snot out of him next time he tries to raise his hand to you, but that surely isn't the solution anyone wants either, so, he's gotta go. Not overreacting. Commenter 3. I think we need more context. At this point I don't think anyone is the AH. It's understandable you're at your wit's end, but equally, asking your wife to institutionalize your son is a huge ask. Have you sourced out all the therapies possible? Medications? I know they don't diagnose sociopathy until someone is older. But is there any other diagnosis that could fit? 13 is reasonable for some other mental health disorders to be diagnosed. Reply. Yes, we have tried many kinds of therapy and medication. He refuses treatment more and more. He started to backhand me across the face if I disagree with him. Last time he left a nasty bruise. Stories number 17. Woke up to a sink of warm, soapy water, what gives? Okay, as the title suggests, my husband 25M and I 24F are asleep. It's currently 0:55 as I type this. I wake up to get a drink of water and the washing up bowl is full of warm, soapy water. Wake up my husband and he is just as confused. The pots are from earlier and all dry. We live alone and I always leave my bowl empty due to flies. Spain, what the fuck? I've never experienced this before. I have had weird experiences here but nothing like this. Sink. Sum of comments. Commenter. Is someone else besides you two currently in your home right now? Reply. It's just us and our old dog. I would have mentioned if there is anyone else. We live with very few neighbors. Family. Commenter. If you have an attic or crawlspace you might want to check them. Reply. We have no attic or basement and we live in a 2-bedroom apartment. We have checked the rooms and nothing. Checked the locks just to be sure. We do have a few crawl spaces but too much furniture to check. To another commenter. So, we live in a house with an attached apartment. My parents-in-law live in the house. We live in the apartment. They are currently away in the UK for a while. We have a couple neighbors but none have dementia or are older folk. Commenter. Leaking faucet. Reply. I did consider this but that wouldn't explain the soap. As you can see I use a pump dispenser. Commenter. It would if there was residue in the bowl. Reply. You're right. I feel like I should have been more specific about my habits. TBH I have OCD and have to rinse the bowl after using it. Paranoia I suppose, so I'm adamant there was no water or soap left from this evening. Commenter. Sleepwalking. Well, Sleepwashing. Reply. If it helps, neither of us woke up with wet hands or clothes, but then again that doesn't mean much. My husband is blaming our weird house guest ghost, we don't like to acknowledge it. To another commenter, neither of us are on medication, but sleepwalking might be an option, I suppose, although we have known each other for 12 years and neither of us have experienced it before without each other. To another commenter, when I saw apartment I mean a house with an apartment connected, not a complex. Commenter, tell us more about the ghost. Reply, posted from my other comment. Honestly, I feel like listing them will be both insane and confusing. Please see my post history for context. I saw a gnome in our room. I wish I was joking, but equally I could debunk it as being half asleep. When home alone we often hear each other's voices, more specifically my husband hears me making graphic noises. I'd rather not explain. We've had random possessions turn up in piles under the couch like money, my underwear, and the dog's toys, except there's no way my dog would fit down there, asterisk etc, etc. Commenter, okay, the voices from another room and hearing each other's voices gave me chills. Reply, it happens on and off. Usually I hear my husband whistling distinct songs or calling my nickname. At first I ignored it thinking I was missing him or just tired etc etc, but then when he came to me and told me he had been hearing me making certain noises while he was home alone, I was pretty weirded out. He still hears it occasionally, and every time he goes to check it out, to nothing. To another commenter, honestly I feel like having our words repeated would admittedly be creepier. I often hear my husband calling me by my nickname when home alone, so if I heard him yelling or crying for instance, I know for a fact I'd probably respond. As for the intimate noises, at first we actually assumed it was a neighbor or an extremely loud public sex enthusiast. But the only thing I can say is it is distinct, clearly me, to the point my best friend has heard it before when she was staying here and she awkwardly asked me about it. She was very confused since our bedroom is downstairs. She was sitting on the couch watching TV when she heard me making some pretty inappropriate noises upstairs. You would have to walk past her to even get upstairs. Awkward indeed. She understands and has had her own experiences here, so luckily didn't dwell on it, but yeah. Now my BFF knows what noises I make doing the deed, so that's funky. It's also the reason I don't let family stay over unless necessary. Commenter, I think OP's post history may suggest hallucinations and impaired reality. OP, I think you just forgot you filled the bowl up. You're safe and it will be okay. Sometimes our minds, especially amidst sleep, can play these tricks. I think this is also better than ghosts or a helpful intruder. Reply, it's true I've had hallucinations. I never denied that, lol. I was diagnosed with BPD but have since been re-diagnosed with autism and PTSD. Those hallucinations were likely caused by the medications I was on. I no longer am LMAO. That wouldn't explain my husband's experiences and visitors too. I do not believe I am imagining these things, and the closest thing I can think at the minute is sleepwalking or a squatter. We are going to buy a nanny cam tomorrow. Commenter, okay, it sounds like you have a ghost. It's believable. Some houses are like that, so you can either accept it or learn to coexist with them or take actions to have them exorcised. Reply, we are trying to sell/move but it's proving difficult. Last family to walk around said it has bad energy and dipped. Neither of us are religious. Update 1, hi everyone. Last night was rough. I didn't sleep much and was quiet, trying to figure out if it was anyone breaking in or otherwise. Luckily, or maybe unluckily, no signs. New carbon monoxide detector has been ordered, new cameras too. I put a piece of paper in the bowl last night after emptying and drying it, perhaps to see if there was a leak. I even left the pots the same for context, lol. Nothing. I appreciate the helpful comments. Just to clear up a few reoccurring comments, NO neither of us have a history of sleepwalking, and NO neither of us have a history of drug use or sleeping medication. Update 2, carbon monoxide battery changed/checked, still all clear. We have also ordered a new detector just to be sure. We have checked our house and we cannot see any unlocked doors or windows that need attention. We don't own an attic or basement, but we do have a few crawl spaces. Husband is going to check it out with his buddy tomorrow and make sure it's all clear, as well as the attached house belonging to my in-laws. They are away for a while in the UK. The only people who have access to our apartment with a key etc. Thanks guys, we'll update to tomorrow. Update 3, TLDR, there was a squatter in our parents' area of the house. Police are involved, read below. Hi everyone, sorry I didn't update sooner. Had a lot of abusive messages which made me not want to post anymore, but I also know there are people here genuinely curious and supportive. To answer common questions, I have checked the monoxide detector twice and even replaced it. We are safe and that is not it. We also have no dishwasher. We don't take sleeping pills or any drugs. As I stated a couple days ago, we searched our flat and my husband's parents' adjoining house with some friends. Here's the weird part, our area is clear as expected. We don't have an attic or basement. But we also searched the house connected while his parents are away in the UK for a while. Turns out the upstairs loft had an old mattress which looked used despite being left as a spare. Bottles of what looks like pee and some empty wrappers etc. Nobody was up there, but we alerted police who came to check it out. They helped us call a locksmith and searched the house completely and our apartment to nothing. We hope whoever it was isn't able to come back. I think this will be my last update unless there's some more updates or if the person returns X. Some of comments. OOP comments about her dog. She really is a sweetheart. I feel so guilty in case she got spooked at any point or someone came into the apartment while me and my husband were both out. I know for a fact she probably would have been friendly but still, creepy. Picture of our guard dog for context. Dog tax. Commenter. What a sweet baby. Are you going to set up cameras around your house in the meantime? I would, since you know there's a squatter. Reply, we are. Our dog is having a well-deserved stay at her favorite aunt's house while we stay in a hotel for a few nights while our friend handles clearing out the room and checking all locks. Just need to get away from it all while we wrap our heads around everything. Commenter, I'm glad all of you are safe and unharmed. I can't imagine how violated you must feel. Reply, thank you so much. I think our biggest concern is our dog's well-being, not knowing how she was possibly treated and the fact this could explain the noises we've been hearing for the last few years, my husband whistling and calling my nickname when I'm home alone, and him hearing me making suggestive or outright pornographic noises. We hate to even consider it, but we think it was either someone very good at mimicking or they recorded us somehow clear enough to replay. Either way I feel sick and not looking forward to returning, only makes me want to see the shithole quicker. Sorry for the rant. Top comment. Commenter, yeah, they were bathing in that hot soapy water. That's what I'd commented on your other post. The moving around is what woke you that night. Update post 2. TLDR, pictures from the loft, mattress, candy. Women's belongings that are not mine and trash. Hey everyone, thank you to everyone who has been kind/understanding. We are currently staying at a hotel while our friend helps clear the loft squatter's stuff and change the locks, etc. Just to let everyone know our pupper is safe and happy, staying with her favorite auntie and being spoilt for a few days. From what we can tell she hasn't been affected, which was a priority for us. Anyway, our friend sent us a few pictures from the loft, the mattress which used to be new, a few trash bags and empty cans, as well as what turned out to be women's underwear that thankfully wasn't mine, men's clothes which aren't my husband's, and a couple used condoms, which is unsettling. So we are guessing it's probably a male pervert who has a thing for underwear and watching, which is the worst outcome. I doubt I'll have any other updates after this one. Fingers crossed this keeps whoever it was out. But police have said if we see anyone loitering or in the apartment again to call and they will be arrested. Thankfully. Thanks again everyone. Some of comments. Commenter, was the mattress something that you had owned previously or have you never seen it before? I was just curious if the homeless person may have brought it with him. Reply, it was a new used but clean mattress that was a spare, definitely not usable now, being thrown away. My friend who is clearing the room said, and I quote, it smells like it belonged to a Discord mod, piss, shit cum apparently. Commenter, I think your man was hearing the squatter with a woman. That would definitely explain the explicit noises he heard, thinking it was phantom of you. Reply, I have no way of explaining this without embarrassing myself, LMAO, but it was 100% my voice. I heard it myself when me and my husband were on the couch. We went upstairs and nobody was there and we didn't hear any thumping/other sex noises. I have a distinct voice and noises. I know I'm being vague, but yeah. It was my voice or a very very good replication. Stories number 18. If I told my older sister her fiancé isn't family enough to walk me down the aisle, I 28F am getting married next spring. It's a small ceremony, mostly family. My dad passed away 5 years ago, and I've been planning to walk down the aisle alone or with my mom. My sister 33F recently got engaged to a guy she's been dating for about a year. He's nice enough, but we're not close. He's never tried to bond with me, and honestly, I still feel like I'm getting to know him. Last week, my sister pulled me aside and said she had a beautiful idea for my wedding. She wants her fiancé to walk me down the aisle. She said it would be symbolic, like he's stepping into the role our dad left behind, and it would show unity between our families. I was stunned. I told her I appreciated the thought, but I didn't feel comfortable with it. He's not my dad. He's not even my brother-in-law yet. I barely know him. I said I'd rather walk alone or with my mom. She got upset. Said I was rejecting her future husband and missing a chance to honor dad's memory. She even implied that I was being cold and selfish for not letting someone step up when I needed support. Now my mom's caught in the middle, and my sister keeps sending me articles about chosen family and symbolic gestures. I feel like I'm being guilted into something deeply personal. I don't want to make a scene, but I also don't want to fake a moment that doesn't feel right. Wibta if I stood my ground and said no. Stories number 19. Wibta if I told my mom that her dogs are the only ones not allowed on family vacation. My mom has 2 half Yorkie half Maltese dogs. These dogs are my mom's world. The problem is they are obsessed with food. they will go to any lengths to get human food. It started with a bag of barbecue potatoes chips on my kitchen counter ripped open and devoured, leaving a huge barbecue dust mess. Next was an entire pizza that was snatched off of the table the moment I went to grab sodas from the kitchen. In the span of less than a minute when I returned, half of the pizza was gone, the dogs were standing in the other half of the pizza and there was pizza sauce all over my carpet. Next get together they found their way inside even though I asked my mom to keep them in the backyard. They got into my kitchen and tore open 2 bags of hamburger buns, and ate around $40 worth of seasoned raw hamburger meat and a block of cheddar cheese. At this point I told my mother her dogs were not allowed at my home. She has stopped coming by altogether, which does hurt my feelings because if it's a choice between her kid and the dogs she will always pick the dogs. I'm planning a family vacation, booked a nice cabin for the whole family to stay in. My sister is bringing her dog well-behaved female pit, so I know it's going to be an issue when I tell my mom her dogs are not allowed to come with us. I don't want to spend the whole weekend making sure not a single scrap of food is left out for even a second, otherwise her dogs would tear it apart and potentially make a huge mess in the cabin I paid the deposit on. My sister told me to just tell my mom that she has to keep a close eye on her dogs, but I have tried that before and she's proven time and time again that she's either unable or unwilling to control her dog's behavior. Wibta, if I tell my mom her food-crazed dogs are not allowed on family vacation even though another dog will be there? Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA, but just say no dogs to avoid hurt feelings. Is that an option? Reply, so my sister's dog Lola the beautiful pit Thai gets pretty horrible separation anxiety. Last time my sister left her at a kennel she was banned from the establishment for behavior problems. Other than that she's a saint, I don't want her to be punished because of my mom's dog's behavior. Commenter 2, nope, NTA. If your mom is going to insist on her feral destructo mutts being included, she needs to book the accommodations and be responsible for the deposit. Otherwise she's just going to have to be content with staying in the doghouse. Even if she does step up for that, I wouldn't share accommodations with animals that are so out of control. Sorry, not sorry, but I wouldn't tolerate every meal turning into a battle to keep my food. Reply, destructo mutts made me laugh. Commenter 3, and I bet mom would blame everyone else if the dogs ate something dangerous that made them sick or killed them. Reply, my mom has bragged that her dogs ate a half a box of chocolate-covered cordial cherries and didn't get sick. I'm worried she thinks they can't get sick. OOP on their mother's reactions to the dog's behaviors. Reply, it's the same excuse every time they are hungry. They can tell we're eating. And she doesn't really clean up after them, but that might be my fault. She kinda stares at the mess and is like, oops, there's a mess, so I end up springing into action so nothing stains or gets more spread around than it already is. OOP on their mother's dogs finding ways to the hamburgers. Reply, where there is a will there is a way, and these dogs will find a way. With the hamburger situation I'm pretty sure they pulled out a drawer to use as a halfway point to just up on my counter. They are smart as hell and like tiny acrobats, but all they care about is finding food. Are the dogs house trained? Reply, they are house trained and very friendly with people and other animals. The only thing I can say against them is that they are food goblins 100% of the time. Update 1. Packing up at the end of the vacation, a few of you asked me to update on what happened. I don't know how to copy links, so I guess click on my profile to read the old post. Ick, how Reddit works. Y'all are smart enough to figure it out. Took the coward's way out and asked my dad to break it to her that her dogs weren't invited. He wasn't happy about it, but he said he gets it. Then he told me some mildly disturbing stuff that he was just laughing off. Like they had bought a locked bread box for pastries on the counter that had been chewed to pieces in order to get to the cinnamon rolls inside, and showed me a picture of the bottom of their fridge that had been extensively chewed, like the dogs were desperately biting and clawing to get inside. He stated he loves the dogs too, but could understand why someone wouldn't want them around during vacation. Dad reported mom took it well and the dogs would stay over at their neighbors who they are good friends with. I was relieved. Everyone showed up and started unpacking except my mom, who my dad said was tying things up at the house and she would be by later. Mom didn't show up that night and I missed her. The next day mom did show up, but as many commenters suspected brought her dogs with her. Tried to play it off as nothing, giving out hugs and smiles, but I was upset. I also tried to play it cool, but I told her that her dogs were not to enter the cabin and that they could not stay the night. She waved me off. Yeah, okay, I get it. It was fine for a few hours, but then I noticed some dirty napkins were floating around in the breeze. I discovered that the garbage bag we had tied to the picnic table had the bottom ripped out and paper plates had been shredded and licked clean. I cleaned up the mess furious and confronted my mother and told her this is exactly why her dogs weren't invited. My mom tried to blame my sister's dog for the mess. You didn't see what happened, it could have been her. I told her that there was no way I would blame Lola for the mess since her dogs are known for doing this kind of thing. My mom clammed up and said fine, I will just take them home, and left with the dogs. My dad wasn't happy after that, saying I didn't have any proof and I went too hard on her. My uncle thought it was funny and he was glad to not have the little bastards trying to steal his hot dog. It put a damper on the whole trip. I just feel like an idiot for trying to make this work in the first place. I miss my mom and I wanted to make family memories, but it really does feel like the dogs and my mom are a package deal now, and asking her to leave them even for a short time was never an option. A lot of people said this in the comments. I don't think I was ready to hear it yet. Thanks for being so responsive, and the comments really did help me see the reality of the situation I'm in now. Relevant comments. OOP clarifies on planning the vacation at the time of the original post. Reply, Vaca was planned and ready to go, only thing I hadn't handled was my mom and her dogs. I thought waiting to talk to her would stop her from being able to get into my dad's head and try to change my mind. But now I'm starting to think no matter when I told her the dogs were going to show up anyway. So when I made the post, if I'm being honest, it was the first night of vacation. Mom didn't show up and I started to feel really guilty that I had excluded her somehow from the family. I really thought she was gonna show up that night at some point, but she never did. I was sorta using the comments to feel better that I had taken a sorta stand against her, even if it was through my dad. I wanted to see if people would say I was an asshole, because it was obvious to me my dad and sister were upset that she wasn't there and that was my fault. Commenter 1, NTA. A little off topic, but are those dogs okay? It sounds like they're being starved or locked in crates all day long with no way of getting energy out. Like, what your dad said is some extreme shit. Those dogs will die horrible deaths if they're left to just eat trash in the fridge. I'd shame the hell out of my mom every single time I saw her. Reply, people are asking about if my parents are starving their dogs, so I'll say, I don't think so. They are quick and small, but they've also got some chunk on them. I think it's more that they only eat people food. I've never seen either of my parents feed them dog food, it's always some kind of scraps from their plate. They might be giving them dog food at home, I just haven't seen it. Final update, Wibta, if I told my mom that her dogs are the only ones not allowed on family vacation. Things have escalated and I'm done. Just gonna jump right in and try to keep it short. I talked with my sis about the chance of my mom's dogs getting sick or dying from eating out of the trash. My mom has always gotten along better with my sister, so I asked her if there was any point in trying to talk to her about getting her dogs trained. She set up a dinner at Wingstop for the three of us. I directly asked my mom at dinner if she fed her dogs dog food or only people food. She got offended and said yes, of course I feed them 2 cups of food for lunch and dinner. I told her that 4 cups of food was already a lot of food for 2 small dogs on top of getting table scraps. My mom said she didn't want to discuss her dogs any further, but my sister jumped in and said that the dogs were why she invited her. She said that she had done some research on dog trainers and found an affordable program. She offered to pay for it in full, all my mom would have to is take them. My mom said that was very generous of her but didn't accept or deny it. My mom started looking nervous and said that she had forgotten to do something and needed to take off early. I thought, well, we tried, let her leave. My sister followed her outside and I settled the bill. When I left I saw my mom and sister were still there and her dogs were doing small laps around my mom's legs. I was extremely confused, I just kinda stood there dumbfounded like how the hell did they get here? My sister was yelling at my mom, I would never do something like this to Lola, this is completely unacceptable. My mom yelled back, it's less than 60 degrees out and it's nighttime, they were fine. My sister fired back, so if we hadn't made you mad how long would you have just left them out here while we were eating? My mom ignored her, grabbed her dogs in a huff and left. My sister was fuming, saying she was lucky nobody saw her dogs in the car, otherwise my mom would be dealing with the police. I wish I could say I was surprised that my mom's had left her dogs in the car, but I wasn't. I've texted her a couple times since then, but she's not responding to anything my sister or I send her. I won't be updating again, everyone is mad at each other and I don't see anything positive coming out of this situation. I'm gonna take the advice of some of the commenters and just let her go. I tried my best to include and help her and it only made everything more awful. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, your mum seems to have lost all reason when it comes to the dogs and she is not caring for them properly. Is this standard behavior for your mum or something new and exciting to deal with? Reply, she's always been soft-spoken but extremely stubborn. Like you can tell her something and she will say, oh yeah, okay sure, but she's just gonna do whatever she was gonna do in the first place. We had cats as kids, so the dogs are a new addition to the situation. Commenter 2, I'm going to ask this, but please understand that the sleepy edible just kicked in, so the phrasing might not come across the best. It's coming from a good place, though. Growing up, did you guys get what you needed emotionally, physically, all that stuff that you needed from her? Her being this weird about the dogs is giving some do-over energy, and I want to make sure that if that's the case, you're supported in whatever she's feeling this guilty about. Reply, I'm not sure if that's the case or not, to be honest with you. When we were kids my parents were super into poker and they both worked full-time, so I didn't see them very much. I started to learn how to make casseroles and hamburger helper for dinner because oftentimes it would just be me and my sister. When I was 6 I noticed my mom stopped doing my laundry, so I started doing it for myself. Teachers would ask me why I didn't have a lunch packed. Truth was my mom and dad didn't do or make me do it, so I just didn't do it. I don't think she feels bad about it though. I brought this stuff up to her before and she said it sounds like a pretty normal childhood. Commenter 3, you'll be back with a final update when one of the dogs chokes on a bone. Because that's what is eventually going to come to, sadly. Reply, I really hope not, but I think you're right. Stories number 20. My husband is acting different. Lately, I've been feeling a growing disconnect in my marriage. Over the past 6 months, my husband has started treating me differently. He's been going golfing much more often, 3 or 4 times a week, spending around $40 each time, while I'm home taking care of our son. When we do go out together, things often end badly. If I express discomfort or disagree with something, he accuses me of being rude or difficult, even when I'm just focused on watching our child. If he's had too much to drink and I drive us home, he talks down to me, giving directions as if I don't know where I'm going, making me feel small or incapable. At home, everything seems to fall on me. I clean, cook, and handle the responsibilities. Just recently, I cleaned the entire house before going to work and even picked up an extra shift. When I got back, the house was a mess, food on the floor, dirty dishes everywhere, wrappers and trash left out. It felt like everything I had done was undone in a few hours. I don't know what's happening, but I feel like my marriage is unraveling. I'm starting to wonder if I even recognize the man I married anymore. Stories number 21. My husband 59M told me 45F he's going to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. Backstory, married 6 years. Started as LDR. Relationship moved very quickly. No children. My husband is retiring in a few weeks. A few weeks ago he told me that he's going to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. He also said he's not going to be tied to the house and not going to be asking permission before he does anything, and he's going to be traveling without me. He also made a point to say I am going to be volunteering without you. It was almost like he was throwing a rebellious fit. Needless to say, this caught me off guard. Honestly, it was fucking bizarre. It came out of nowhere. Years ago when we discussed plans for retirement, we discussed traveling together, volunteering together, buying an RV and hitting the open road. We made plans for all the things we wanted to see and do. Fast forward to a few weeks ago and I have no idea who this man is. These comments came out of the blue. He sat me down and he had a list. He also said he's going to live life with or without me. I've never discouraged him from having hobbies, solo interests etc., and absolutely have never said we need to give each other permission to do things. I've always said we need to treat each other with courtesy/respect and communicate plans. When I tried to talk to him about why he was making these statements, what's changed, etc., he got mad, defensive and rolled his eyes. It was end of discussion. 2 of his closest friends just retired. One is recently divorced, the other is in a relationship but treats her very badly. He's not talking to me about it. He gets mad, gets annoyed, frustrated, impatient. It's clear he wants me to stay quiet and deal with it. I overheard he talking to his friend and saying if I didn't like it, then oh well, there's no interest like self-interest. I'm going to try to talk to him again. How do I approach this? What do I say? Where do I start? Edit. We've tried therapy before, as he's cheated in the past. He refused to continue when he was being held accountable for his actions. His actions are very confusing. He's saying these disrespectful things but still saying he loves me and is acting like everything is fine. It's confusing, manipulative and toxic. Edit. I am on the road for work but will respond to comments as soon as I can. Very much appreciate all of the insightful and helpful responses. Stories number 22. It's good to see young women being modest. Hello, I really need some advice about this situation. Earlier, I was with some girlfriends and wearing a long white dress. It's down to my ankles and off shoulder, very cute. This old guy walks past as we stood there and said, "Now that is a nice dress." I thanked him and smiled, but then he continued speaking. It's nice to see young women being modest, like you. Some girls out here are dressed in absolutely nothing. I wish I retorted, but I just looked down and frowned. I didn't want to cause a scene. He walked away and I was like, what a fucking creep, What an odd thing to say to a stranger. But my friends disagreed completely, which I found very odd because we were dressed very skimpily just last night. I told my mother about it while we were talking to her friend, and they both agreed with the old man. I got kinda mad and left, because I couldn't explain why I was annoyed about his comment. I can't put into words why what he said put such a bad taste in my mouth, but I feel in my gut what he said was wrong. Please help, am I actually an asshole for how I reacted? I feel like crying, I'm so frustrated. Edit. Thank you all, I appreciate your validation so much, genuinely, I feel a lot better now. Stories number 23. A stranger's kindness at the pharmacy changed my whole day. I wanted to share one of those small but powerful moments that made me believe in people again. Last month, I was at the pharmacy picking up a prescription I really needed, but my insurance suddenly wouldn't cover it. I was honestly on the verge of tears, feeling overwhelmed and embarrassed while trying to negotiate with the clerk. Out of nowhere, a woman in line behind me quietly stepped forward and handed her card to the cashier. She just smiled and said, "I've been there before. Let me help." It all happened so fast, I barely had time to process it. I tried to refuse, but she insisted, saying, "Just pay it forward when you can." That simple act, someone seeing my struggle and helping, no strings attached, completely shifted the course of my day. I left with more than my medication. I left carrying the reminder that kindness still exists, even in the most unexpected places. I paid it forward later by helping someone with their groceries. It might seem small, but it meant everything in that moment. I'd love to hear if anyone else has had a stranger step in when you needed a little hope. Let's keep the kindness rippling out, one good deed at a time. Stories number 24. I signed the Mama Bear documents. Can I get out of them? Hi. I know a post of a similar topic was posted yesterday, but the comments are now turned off, and I have an urgent question. In the post of interest, OP was strongly urged not to sign Mama Bear documents presented by a parent before going off to college. I'm a rising college sophomore, and I signed the documents in question almost a year ago, one set for Virginia, my home state, and one set for Connecticut, where my college is. But, after reading that post, I wish I hadn't signed those documents. I know signing them without doing research was dumb. I don't know why I did it. Maybe it was because my mom presented them so matter-of-factly, I assumed it was something everyone did, like filling out the FAFSA. But, in hindsight, I do have parents who like to helicopter, and I am seeking to gradually decrease contact with them over the years, though they may not fully realize that part. It does anger them when I try to live more independently. Help. I'm young and dumb. I shouldn't have signed those documents. Is there a way to get out of them? Do I need a lawyer? Stories number 25. Anyone else have roommates that activate when you get home? Example, I get home from a run/gym, and they immediately need to take a 30-minute shower, and then 15 minutes of them clearing their throat. I wake up and they're now up too, and using the bathroom. I take a shower before leaving for an event, and now they want to take a shower at 3 p.m. I leave my room to go take out the trash, and now they're up and doing the dishes. I leave for work and now they're leaving for work too. Yes, I've checked for cameras, but why this is happening. I know I'm not living in a single, but seriously, this shit grinds my gears. It's as if they wait for me to move for them to suddenly activate, like an NPC. Edit. I am only so aggro about this since said roommate WFH 100%, and is home 24/7. He has all day to shower, to do the dishes, etc., go into the office whenever. It's just so irksome that somehow my schedule ensues his. Stories number 26. AITA for refusing to babysit my niece after my SAL called me lazy for being child-free. I 30F have made it very clear I don't want kids. My SAL 32F is a stay-at-home mom with 2 toddlers. She constantly makes comments like, "You'll never know real love until you're a mother," or, "Must be nice to sleep all day with no kids." Yesterday, she texted asking if I could babysit overnight because she and my brother wanted a night out. I said no because I had plans with friends. She got angry and said, "You do nothing all day, you can spare a few hours." I told her I'm not her backup childcare and I'm tired of the disrespect. She called me selfish and is now telling my family I hate kids and don't support family. AITA for refusing to help after her comments. Stories number 27. So I accidentally started a neighborhood feud and I'm too embarrassed to fix it. 3 weeks ago I was walking my dog when my neighbor's sprinkler hit me. I was having a bad day, so I muttered something about them watering the sidewalk more than their lawn. The lady next door heard me and apparently she's had issues with that sprinkler for months. She thought I was on her side and marched over there to confront them about it. Now the entire block has picked sides. One family thinks I started some campaign against them. The other neighbor keeps thanking me for backing her up in her war with them. People have stopped talking to me because they're friends with one side or the other. The crazy part is the sprinkler was fixed a week ago. But now they're leaving passive-aggressive notes on each other's cars and parking to block each other's views. I just wanted to walk my dog in peace. Now I'm scared to leave my house because I might make it worse. How do you tell an entire neighborhood that you accidentally started a feud over getting slightly damp? Stories number 28. Looking for advice. Family wants to lower my pay when oldest starts school. Help needed. Hey everyone. I nanny for a family with 3 boys, a 5-year-old and 2-year-old twins. I work 9 hours a day, 4 days a week, and I make $20 per hour. While I'm there, I do pretty much everything. I cook for the kids, take them to activities, play with them, and basically handle all parenting responsibilities while the parents are at work. I have a great relationship with the parents and we communicate really well, but I've always felt a bit underpaid for what I do. $20 per hour for caring for 3 young kids including toddler twins. Feels low for the level of responsibility I have, but I've stayed because of the relationship and because the kids are great. Yesterday, the dad asked me how I thought pay should change once the 5-year-old starts school next month, since I'll only have the twins during the day, and they nap for about 2 hours each afternoon. He said I should come up with a new rate, which makes me really anxious because I cannot afford to make less. My husband and I are already barely getting by. I totally get where they're coming from, one less kid, but this job is still a full day of mental and physical effort. The twins are a handful, and with their screen time now being limited per the parents' request, I've had to really step it up with planning creative ways to keep them engaged throughout the whole 9 hours. On top of that, I don't even get any gas reimbursement, and I drive them to outings regularly. I'm not sure how to respond without making things awkward or risking the relationship. I really care about the kids, but I also need to advocate for myself. Has anyone been in a similar situation? How would you approach this? Any advice would really help. Thank you. I made this post a few days ago and got a ton of answers. I'm very grateful for you guys. I ended up talking to the mom a few days later. She told me they didn't want to lower my pay, that they just wanted me to take on more things while the boys were asleep, not how he worded it before, but okay, huh? And I had another conversation with the dad yesterday. He basically thinks they're paying me too much to take care of now only the twins and the 2 hours long nap if they do end up falling asleep on time. He wants me to clean around the house, do laundry and such while the boys sleep. Which I'm happy to do. But he's not comfortable with me cleaning bathrooms or doing his laundry or grocery shopping because he wants to control those things. So that leaves me with less options to kinda sell myself here. He also mentioned, while brainstorming, that they thought about paying me $17 per hour. I make $20 right now overall, or $10 an hour during the 2-hour nap. I told him I'm not going under $20, I literally can't. And then told him that I actually needed to be paid more and that I had talked to other nannies and parents who have nannies, and realized I'm severely underpaid. He said they'd come up with a plan and let me know. Fast forward to this morning, I'm kinda losing my mind. So I typed out a message and I just sent it. I feel horribly anxious. I'm not happy with this. I didn't want to say all of that in person because I feel like such a pushover. Anyways, here's the text, please be kind, I'm a nervous wreck. Hey guys, I hope you're having a good morning so far. I've been sitting with this message for a while because, to be honest, it's really hard for me to stand up for myself. I've gone back and forth about saying something, but I've also been doing a lot of research and having conversations with friends, both other nannies and parents who employ nannies, and I've come to realize that I'm truly being underpaid for the level of work I'm doing. I really love your family, and the boys mean so much to me. I've always wanted to grow with your family and do whatever I can to support you all. That hasn't changed. I also mentioned something yesterday that I wanted to explain a little more. I do feel really appreciated and cared for as a person, which I truly value. But I don't always feel that same appreciation for what I do as a nanny. Sometimes it feels like the more I do, the less it's noticed. I'm doing a lot each day, and I know that what I provide goes far beyond just watching the kids. Not a lot of nannies cook or light clean or do any other task than hang out with their kids. And I understand that you haven't had much experience with nannies, but what I do is a lot. And I've taken on more things because I love your family and I love the kids so much. I've joined nanny groups where they talk about different activities to do with them, and things to cook for them, and tips and tricks and such. I'm trying continuously to become the best nanny version of myself so that you want to keep working with me. And because I deeply care about the boys and their development. And this is also my career. You mentioned that daycare would be a lot cheaper, and I totally understand that. But I also feel like the relationship I have with the boys and the type of support I give day to day is very different from daycare. I've been giving stability, one-on-one care, emotional connection, very fun days, and I put my heart into it, and honestly, with the level of attention and responsibility this job takes, being paid $20 per hour doesn't feel very good. I'm always happy to step up where I can. I'm super detail-oriented and a little obsessive in a good way. About keeping things clean, organized, and running smoothly. And the way I see it, the babies being asleep does give me more time and space to do things, and if me doing more justifies my pay, please use me. But I also will respect it if you don't feel comfortable with it. I can, like I said, switch to our days being fully in Spanish. Maybe it doesn't sound like a lot, but having a whole second language is huge. I'd love to do that if it's another motivator. I absolutely need to mention this because it has been causing a lot of anguish and anxiety not sharing it with you. Husband and I are 27 and 26, and we're at a stage in life where we have a lot on our plate financially. This is my career, and it's what helps support our household and husband's salary, of course. I need to be making $25 per hour to make this sustainable. I totally understand if that's not something you're able to do, and if that's the case, I'm still happy to continue helping until we find a situation that works better for everyone. I really don't want to leave, I just need to take care of my own family too. But I want to work with you. With all my heart. And I want you to want me around. I'm sorry if this is a lot. I needed time to think, and writing this out really helped. It's always a little easier for me to write than to talk. Edit. I understand where many of you are coming from, saying that I didn't need to explain myself or share my feelings or make it so long. I appreciate your input, and I'll make sure to take it into consideration for my future interactions with parents. I'm still learning how to communicate more professionally. It kinda made it hard because the mom would constantly check on me and ask about my life. But again, I know how to do better. Stories number 29. My 30th boyfriend 29M doesn't think I'm beautiful, and it's destroying my self-esteem. How do I get over this? My boyfriend and I have been together for almost a year, and it's going very well. I love him very much, it's by far the best relationship I ever had, and we're starting to talk about moving in together, but there's one problem. He doesn't think I'm beautiful, and it's affecting my mental health. So, I think he's perfect, inside and out. He's handsome, funny, sweet, intelligent, generous, caring. Every time I look at him I think, how did I ever pull that? Cause I think he's way out of my league. I just feel so lucky to be with him. He doesn't feel the same. He says that he loves my personality and that I'm smart, and that sex is top tier, and he never had any so good with any other girl, but when I asked if he thinks I'm hot he said no, he thinks I'm pretty and he likes me, but he cares about personality more. This came up because while chatting about exes he told me about this one girl he had a short fling with, and he said when he saw her he thought she was stunningly beautiful and that she was out of his league, and felt proud he scored with her even if the relationship didn't develop cause they didn't like each other on a deeper level. I jokingly asked if he felt the same about me and he said no. When I first saw you I thought you were pretty, but it's your intelligence and personality that made me fall for you. Now you have to keep in mind, I have huge self-esteem issues. I always felt ugly. In middle and high school I was constantly bullied for being ugly. Classmates would tell me to unalive myself cause I was so ugly they couldn't look at me, so physical appearance is a sensitive topic to me. Whatever little self-esteem I had I always got from my relationships. So him saying that basically destroyed whatever good opinion I had of myself. He noticed I got upset and said he was confused. He didn't understand why it was such a big deal to me. He said, I get that you got bullied, but I never said you're ugly. I said you're pretty, but I like your personality more. Is it really that important to you that I think you're the most beautiful girl ever? I don't understand how he's not getting this. He once told me one of the reasons why he has low self-esteem, other than the fact he never had much success with girls and that no one other than his mom and grandma and me ever called him handsome, was that his ex, not the short fling. The only girl he had a serious relationship with, whenever he said why are you with me, you're too beautiful for me, would say cause I feel good with you instead of cause you're beautiful too, so he should get me. Should he not? I understand this all sounds silly, and I like that he loves my personality. But I honestly feel like he's the most perfect guy ever, both inside and out, and I just wish he felt the same about me. Instead, I now feel like he settled. He said that's not true, he does feel lucky to be with me, but not because of my looks. This is crushing my self-esteem. I've never felt uglier. I wish I had money for plastic surgery, and it's also making me very jealous, something I've never been. How do I get over it? Stories number 30. AITA for telling my professor that my partner didn't let me to participate for group project. I'm in college and we were randomly assigned partners for a big group project. I got paired with this guy who clearly didn't want to work with me. From the start he kept saying he had a 4.0 GPA and didn't want me to mess anything up. Every time I offered to help or asked what I could do he brushed me off and said he'd handle it. Eventually he told me not to touch anything because he wanted to keep control of the whole thing, so I didn't. I let him do it his way and stayed out of it like he asked. When we turned it in I figured that was that, but later I got an email from the professor asking about how we split the work because apparently he told her I slacked off. She asked me directly what happened. I didn't lie. I just said he told me he wanted to do the whole thing himself. That was the truth. I didn't throw him under the bus but I also wasn't going to cover for him. Turns out he got docked points for not collaborating and now his grade dropped. He's mad and word got around but I'm only telling the truth and I didn't think I did anything wrong. AITA for not defending him when he tried to make me look bad. Stories number 31. My BF 25M says stuff like what if my friends all fucked you? I'm 20F and confused. So my boyfriend said he's okay if I want to start an OnlyFans even if it means showing my body to other guys online. He even said we could do it together if I wanted. I know OnlyFans is easy money and all, but honestly, I don't think I'd be comfortable posting sexual stuff like that. I'm not judging anyone who does it, but it's just not me. What's been bothering me is how okay he is with it. Like, no hesitation. During the conversation, he even said, girls are the main attraction anyway, like it was no big deal. That just stuck with me, like, does he not care that it's my body being seen that way? It makes me wonder if he really sees me as his girlfriend or just someone to sexualize and post online. I thought if you love someone, you'd want to protect that part of them, not share it. He doesn't pressure me to do it or anything, but sometimes during sex he says really weird stuff like, if I gave you permission to fuck one of my friends, who would you choose? What if another guy wanted to fuck you? What if all my friends fucked you? Look, I do enjoy dirty talk but WTF is this? It doesn't feel like real intimacy. It feels like I'm part of some weird porn plot in his head. It sounds like he's narrating a gangbang fantasy. Honestly, it's a turn-off. And it's not just in bed. There was this one time we were eating hot pot, and there was boiling soup in front of us. In front of his friend, he randomly asked me, would you drink it if it was my boiling cum? His friend literally said WTF is that question out loud. Like I'm sorry but that was so embarrassing and disgusting to hear, especially in public. There have been other moments like this too, but this one was by far the most embarrassing for me. I even asked him once if he had ever shown our intimate videos to anyone before, just because he seemed so okay with the idea of me showing my body to others. Luckily, he said no, but the fact that I even had to ask really says a lot. He says it's just jokes or questions, but it really throws me off and makes me feel kind of weird. Edit, I was the one who brought up OnlyFans first. I asked him if he had ever subscribed to any creators. He said just 2 and claimed it was out of curiosity. Then he asked me if I wanted to start one, and I said no, I was just asking. He responded, you don't want to earn millions. That's how it started and it threw me off when he said about earning millions just by OnlyFans. TBH, I actually believed him at first. I really thought OnlyFans really could make millions. But even then, I still didn't want to do OnlyFans. After reading all your comments, I realized that's not really how it works for most people. So now I'm just even more weirded out by how quickly he suggested it and the fact that he is okay showing my body online to other men. Also, I'm really sorry I haven't replied to everyone. I've been feeling super overwhelmed, especially after we argued. His last message to me was, I need time to calm down, and I haven't replied since. I wanted to go to his house to make sure the intimate videos of us got deleted, but he doesn't want to meet me, so right now I'm just waiting for him to text me first after everything. What else to do? Stories number 32. I brought my mom and brother from Brazil to visit me in the US, and ended up emotionally destroyed in my own home. I live in the US and hadn't seen my mom or 15-year-old brother in 1 year. They live in Brazil, and I wanted to give them a special experience, so I paid for everything, including 2 international business class tickets as we used to do once a year, to make them feel comfortable and loved, also in her case healthy-wise. I had planned this trip with care, especially hoping to reconnect with my brother. But from the moment they arrived, my mom was cold, critical, and manipulative in 2 days. She made passive-aggressive remarks like you could have married better and mocked the fact that I cook and care for my home, even though she lives in Brazil with maids, driver, supported largely by my help. Then things escalated. During a weekend trip, she messaged my husband privately, saying she wanted to speak to him alone. He immediately showed me and told me he wouldn't entertain that. But the next morning, while I was upstairs, she cornered him at the hotel anyway. He texted me while it was happening because he didn't want this drama or entertaining this type of behavior, clearly uncomfortable. When I came down for breakfast, he told her directly, anything you want to say should be said to both of us. But in that private moment, she had already tried. She brought up personal things I did over 6 years ago, trying to throw dirt and stir doubt in our marriage. What she didn't expect was that my husband already knew everything. And he asked her, calmly and clearly, I know all of this. What exactly is your goal in bringing this up? She started to cry and he was all over meetings and asked to us leave the table at breakfast, which I think that was okay. I tried to ask why she would do that. At the room later BTW, for context, we went to a place in Big Sur for a weekend and she stayed in the room and trying to burn with my own husband. After we arrive, when she figured she won't manipulate my husband and they clash personalities, she lock herself in the room for a week. Why would a mother try to sabotage her daughter's relationship with the man who is my partner, husband, and we are happy? After that, she played the victim. And slowly, she turned my brother against me. The boy I loved like my son, but after being so mistreated, him feeling angry, the one I wanted to reconnect with, now barely looks at me, barely speaks. He stays in the room with her. I feel erased in my own home. We have 2 days left. I'm emotionally drained. I gave them everything, comfort, love, respect, and I'm walking away with silence, manipulation, and heartbreak. What would you do after something like this? How do you recover when your own mother tries to burn down the life you built, and takes your brother with her? And why? Stories number 33. Karen demanded a manager over free books. Got banned instead. I was at my favorite little bookstore cafe the other day, just enjoying a quiet cup of coffee when I witnessed one of the most entitled scenes ever. This woman, total Karen vibes from the moment she walked in, just marched straight to the book exchange shelf, grabbed like 5 books, and headed for the door without even glancing at the counter. One of the workers, super polite guy, stopped her and said, "Hi, sorry, but the books are for exchange. Did you bring any to trade?" Karen rolled her eyes and said, "They're free, aren't they?" "That's what the sign says." He explained it clearly, it's an exchange, not a free-for-all, and people usually take one or leave a donation. That's when she exploded. Started ranting about false advertising and how she was going to report them. Then came the magic words, "Get me your manager." The guy smiled and said, "I am the manager." Dead silence for a second. Then she doubled down, saying she was taking the books anyway and they could deal with the consequences. The manager calmly told her it would be considered theft and pointed to the security camera. Karen realized she was losing the crowd, I wasn't the only one watching, and eventually slammed the books down, muttered something about book communists, and stormed out. The manager banned her on the spot. I left a tip in the jar and told him that was the best live entertainment I'd seen all week. Stories number 34. She thought she got away unscathed. I own an apartment in NYC in Manhattan and decided to rent it out furnished and move to the house I had bought for my infirm mother and take care of her on a full-time basis. She's 87. The rental income was to become my main source of income. My new tenant, a middle-aged woman from Queensland, Australia, lacked previous landlord references since she said she had owned and lived in her home for 30 years. She was gainfully employed, met the financial criteria to qualify and provided some solid letters of reference. Long story short, she stopped paying the rent 7 months into her 1-year lease. My attempts to contact her were ignored, so I took her to housing court and had her evicted, and sued for damages in small claims court, damaged microwave, stained sofas, apartment left in filthy condition. As you can imagine, she skipped the court dates, surreptitiously moved out of the apartment, completely ghosted me and fled back to Australia, where it would be very expensive for me to remotely hire a local lawyer to domesticate the financial judgments and garnish her wages. I was adamant that she wasn't going to do this to any other landlord and plotted my revenge. She has a very unique name, so I bought her domain name. Let's say her name is Jane Smith. I purchased janesmith.com and built a website. I proceeded to post the details on said website, her photo, an official copy of the financial judgments I won against her. She owes me $16,000 in unpaid rent plus $7,000 plus in damages, including photos of the filth left in the apartment, the damaged furniture and broken microwave, the notice from the marshal posted on door with eviction details. Details about where she worked and the club she frequents in Queensland to play bridge. I was very careful to only include facts so as not to be accused of slander. I focused on the SEO of the website and managed to have the website be the #1 result when you Google her name. Then I sat back and looked at the stats of the website visits, which showed her employer had visited the site, and it seems that her contract was not renewed and she seems to now be unemployed. I also got emails from some people who had seen her at a professional conference she attended and wanted to let me know her whereabouts. In addition, I communicated with the people who wrote letters of reference on her behalf when she applied for the apartment and told them about her unscrupulous behavior. It's now going to be 3 years, I still own her domain name, website is still up and still gets visitors, and if you Google her name it's still at the top of the rankings. She's still trying to get consulting jobs, but anyone searching her name in the internet immediately finds the website and discovers that behind her professional credentials and PhD lies a deadbeat. Although keeping the website going is costing me some dollar, the satisfaction of knowing that she has been publicly unmasked and can't swindle others continues to give me great satisfaction, especially when I see that some visitors from the website arrived at the site via internal corporate communications, Microsoft Teams. So I suspect she's still trying to find employment, and when they Google her name and find the website it leads to internal team discussions about her character and her job. Prospects vanish. She arrogantly and callously stole $20,000 from me in unpaid rent and damages, and it is now costing her far more than she saved in unpaid rent. Any job she applies for, any apartment she tries to rent, anyone she tries to date, she's single, will know the truth behind the mask. Angela in Queensland, you now know FAFO. Stories number 35. AITA for not having a relationship with my dad and his family because his wife is the affair partner and they talked crap about my mom. My parents were married when my mom got pregnant with me, 16M. She was still pregnant when she found out dad was cheating with Lauren. My dad and Lauren moved in together after the affair got found out, and then Lauren was pregnant. Dad and Lauren tried to get custody of me and lost. They called CPS on my mom and weren't able to take me that way either. So it was always toxic. They shared custody of me starting when I was 3 and it ended last year when the courts let me reduce it to 50-50, and then a few months ago it was decided I could live with whoever I wanted, but I couldn't block or mute either parent while I'm under 18. My dad and Lauren have 6 kids together. My half-brother is their oldest and he's less than a year younger than me. My dad and Lauren used to talk so much shit about my mom. I remember being really young and they would say how she gave birth to me early and didn't even breastfeed me to make up for it. And how she hated my half-brother and wished him dead. They told me pretty often that she put herself before me and didn't care about my need to be with my family. They called her ugly, fat, and all kinds of other things like that too. They would be like, she doesn't buy you nice gifts like we do and stuff, or she didn't give you siblings like us. Lauren even said her womb was all rotted up from being such a bad mom. I was maybe 5 when mom told me about the affair and why she didn't get along with Lauren and dad. She also told me they tried to take me away from her. The reason she did it was because she was afraid they would alienate me from her. I asked my dad about it and he didn't deny it. But it was years before he came out and said he didn't regret what he did and would do it all over again, only he'd try to win. I already resented the hell out of everything by then, and it was made worse with all the shit they talked about mom. Mom told me once and she had a therapist help her do it. We didn't talk about it after that. I really hated being at dad's house and didn't want to be close to dad, Lauren, or the other kids. I made a lot of trouble for them. It was also really chaotic over there because my dad and Lauren broke up with each other twice and stayed living in the same house, but there was his half and her half, and those times were way tense. Lauren would get so mad when I wouldn't visit her side on dad's parenting time. That actually almost made them break up for good, but they got back together both times. It added to all the weirdness. I got into so much trouble when I had to be there because I wanted nothing to do with the kids and was rude to Lauren and my dad. I started calling them cheaters 3 years ago, which pissed them both off. They told me I wasn't even born at the time and I said I didn't care. They cheated on mom and tried to take me away from her and talked crap about her when she was the victim. Lauren told me if mom was so great dad never would have wanted her in the first place. I said it was because they're both gross. My mom had me in therapy through different points of my childhood. It was the therapist who suggested calming down and talking to the judge about reduced contact and preparing to be mature about it. He told me being mature and not disrespecting all of them, especially the kids, would be better. Both times it worked. So now I'm living with mom and I don't have anything to do with them. I even transferred schools so I could go full NC with dad's other kids. Because I don't care if they're innocent too, I don't want a relationship with them. I get texts from dad pretty often. I blocked Lauren though because I can, and their kids. Dad tells me when his kids want to see me and he's always texting that they all miss me and I'm not being fair and at least have something to do with my siblings. I replied twice so far to all his texts because it shows I don't have him blocked or muted. I said I didn't care the first time and fuck off the second. And he just keeps texting about the kids now and I know it's meant to make me feel bad but it doesn't. I don't care. AITA. Stories number 36. WIPTA for giving my SIL a move-out deadline even if she still doesn't have a job. I, 30F, live with my husband, 32M, and a few months ago, his younger sister, 24F, moved in with us. She was going through a rough patch, lost her job, broke up with her boyfriend, and didn't have anywhere else to go. I agreed to let her stay temporarily, thinking she'd get back on her feet. But it's been 3 months, and honestly, I feel like I'm living with a teenager who thinks she's at the hotel. She doesn't help with any house chores. She leaves dirty dishes in the sink after eating, never wipes down counters, and hasn't done laundry once. She eats and drinks whatever's in the fridge, stuff I specifically buy for my kids or meal prep, and never replaces anything. She doesn't contribute to bills, but she's constantly ordering stuff online. Clothes, skincare, and random packages arrive almost daily. She had a job interview last week and just didn't go. Her brother asked her and she said she wasn't feeling it. I was stunned. I've been biting my tongue for weeks, but that was the last straw. I told my husband we need to set a deadline for her to move out or start contributing. He said I was being harsh and that she's family and just needs time. But I feel like I'm being taken advantage of. I didn't sign up to be her maid, her chef, or her financial sponsor. WIPTA if I told her she needs to move out even if she still doesn't have a job. I don't want to be heartless, but I also don't want to lose my sanity. Update, I gave my SIL a move-out deadline and I finally feel like I have my home back. Hi again. I posted recently about my sister-in-law, 24F, living with us and how it was starting to feel less like helping family and more like being taken advantage of. First, I want to say thank you. The comments, advice, and support I got were incredible. You helped me feel less alone and reminded me that setting boundaries doesn't make me cruel, it makes me sane. Here's what happened next. After her missed job interview and another week of zero effort, I sat down with my husband and told him I couldn't do this anymore. I said I was done tiptoeing around her feelings while our home turned into a stress zone. I told him we needed to give her a firm deadline to move out, job or no job. He pushed back at first. Said she just needs time and that she's family. But I reminded him that we're a family too and our kids deserve a peaceful, functional home. I told him I wasn't willing to sacrifice our mental health for someone who won't even wash a dish. So me and my husband talked to her and gave her a deadline, 6 weeks to find a job, contribute, or find another place to stay. We offered to help her look for work, even suggested affordable housing options. But the deadline is firm. She wasn't thrilled. She said I was kicking her out and that I don't understand how hard things are. I told her I do understand, but I also know that healing doesn't happen while you're living in someone else's house, doing nothing, and expecting everything. Since then, she's been sulky but slightly more active. She did a load of laundry, a miracle, and she's been quieter. She also started to look for a job. Thank you again to everyone who reminded me that boundaries aren't cruelty, they're clarity. I'm learning that protecting my peace doesn't make me heartless. It makes me a better mom, partner, and person. Stories number 37. My friend was roofied and I want to burn the world down. Last weekend, I went to a concert with my friend. Her ex-boyfriend was there and slipped something in her drink. I guess he got his dosage wrong because she fell unconscious and hit her head on the concrete floor. He immediately fled the scene. I followed the ambulance to the hospital and spent the night with her. It was absolute hell. She was delirious, violent and completely out of her mind for hours. It was like a scene from The Exorcist. The hospital staff was infuriatingly dismissive. They treated her like a drunk. The paramedics didn't disclose that she had been drugged or that she hit her head. I had to advocate for her care every step of the way. What's worse is I learned standard toxicology screenings in the US only test for a handful of substances. Many of the most popular drugs used for these purposes won't show up. I feel helpless, disgusted, and not at all safe in the community I once loved. I hate that the actions of one man and the resulting inaction of many others have taken this from me. Stories number 38. My neighbors are a horror's how, and I can't stop eavesdropping on them. My neighbors are absolutely toxic, and I like to listen to them argue. I know it's creepy and weird, and I shouldn't, but yeah, I'm that nosy neighbor that knows all your business. It's wrong, but I still do it. My neighbors are fantastic entertainment. There, I said it. Let's call them Jeff and Jen. Jeff and Jen are the trashiest, most trailer park stereotypical, drug-abusing, daily drama morons you could hope to meet in West Bumlick, Alabama, but here's the kicker, our neighborhood is in a pretty affluent suburb in a high cost-of-living area. Jeff and Jen rent an in-law apartment over my neighbor's 3-car garage that abuts my backyard. There's a thin screen of trees between their yard and mine. It's enough that we can't see each other, but I can hear everything they talk about, mostly because they spend roughly 20 hours a day drinking and doing God knows what substances outside, and they don't seem to be capable of conversing for more than 20 minutes without screaming at each other. I used to hate it. I tried calling the cops a few times for disturbing the peace when they were having one of their classic 2 a.m. Saturday blowouts, but I kept getting told there wasn't much they could do about it since no actual domestic violence was involved. Jeff and Jen knew who had called the cops. It was pretty obvious in retrospect. So they sent their dog over to shit in my yard while I was at work. Nice folks. So I just decided to embrace the chaos, and grew to enjoy it. It became nightly entertainment. The weekends were always particularly good quality, because there were side characters involved. When I hear it starting up, I crack a beer and go out to sit on my back deck to enjoy the show. It's never boring. This past weekend, Jen spent about 3 hours screaming at Jeff about how she was a changed woman. She was turning over a new leaf, and wasn't going to take his shit anymore. She wasn't going to believe his lies that he didn't take her stuff, because she came home and caught him nodding off. She was a new, strong, independent woman, and she didn't need him. Jeff countered with, "What are you talking about? I didn't take your stuff, I just drank a lil, I'm fine, you're jumberbumble." Jen threatened to leave, which apparently woke Jeff up a little, so he threatened to take the dog and go live with his mom. This went on for about 2 hours before I assumed they found some more stuff, because they both suddenly became very mellow and started planning how they wanted to cut down some trees on my property. I'm keeping an eye on that. But anyways, that's it. I'm a nosy neighbor and I like to sit outside and listen to the latest installment of my program. And before anyone says anything, yes, if it ever seems likely to escalate to violence, I will get law enforcement involved again. I'm nosy, not heartless. Stories number 39. AITA thinks it's wrong for me to be upset with her having guys spend the night with her. Me, 29M, and my, 25F, have been going out for about 3 months now. Before we got serious and put a title on things, she did explain that she has a few guy friends that she goes and spends the night with or come over to her house and spend the night with her. And that she has never once done anything with. I figured since we weren't dating yet that's just her being single and that the expectation of that changing once we are together would be different. However, it has not stopped her one bit. I told her how I feel about it instead of just leaving her in the dark, hoping for resolution. I told her that beyond how much I could ever trust her, that is still a very sketchy situation and something rightfully so, people would be uncomfortable with their partner doing. By the way, for context, she has mentioned that if she did give the opportunity that she is sure these guys would sleep with her. She has also lied and said she never has even been in bed with one of them. And then come to find out she posted a picture of them cuddling in her bed before that. Saying that she must have forgot that happened. She basically made me feel really gaslit. Told me that she has never done anything to ruin my trust and that I should not think of her that way and that I'm projecting off of past experiences. Am I wrong for being upset with this? I'm almost 30, I absolutely do not want to be in a relationship where I have to explain to my friends that I let my girlfriend just have guys come spend the night with her alone. Stories number 40. I, 25F, lied to my boyfriend, 26M, about his dick size. So I, 25F, have been with my boyfriend, 26M, for a couple months now. He's actually one of the sweetest guys I've been with. He plans surprises, he cooks for me, he massages my feet after I get back from runs, just a walking green flag. I feel really safe and cared for with him. It's been really refreshing, especially compared to some guys I've been with before. And I've had my fair share of experience, like well into double digits. He know, and it's never been an issue. I could tell he was curious, a little intimidated maybe, but I always told him it didn't matter. Recently, while we were having a pillow chat after sex, he asked me how he compares down there compared to the other guys I've slept with. I laughed it off and tried to dodge it with a joke, but he insisted. I told him it didn't matter because I'm with him now, but he kept pushing, said he wanted to know. I said fine, and started thinking. He insisted that he wanted full honesty, that he wanted us to be 100% transparent with each other, so I promised I'd be 100% honest. Eventually, I told him he's a bit above average. He thanked me for telling him. The thing is, it was a lie. I couldn't bring myself to be honest, because as far as I remember, he's the smallest I've ever been with. Not by a little, like noticeable smaller. I don't remember every single hookup perfectly, but yeah, I'm pretty sure. To be clear, I don't care, and I'm perfectly happy with him. Like I said before, he takes care of me in other ways, and I'll take a sweet, attentive man over good dick any day. Still, I just couldn't get it out, I didn't want to humiliate him. It's been gnawing at me, because I promised the truth, and he trusts me. I feel so conflicted now. Do I tell him the truth? Stories number 41. AITA for not telling my friend's girlfriend that I'm straight. So I just need to know if I did something wrong because everyone except 2 of my friends think I'm in the wrong. I, 23F, met my 3 friends in my first year of university. Let's call them Abby, 24F, Ben, 24M, and Charles, 25M. We were inseparable all 4 years, and since we graduated just over 2 years ago we've met up once a month for dinner, or some kind of activity. Partners have always been included if they want to. Abby was with her girlfriend for almost 3 years, but they broke up 3 months ago, and Ben's girlfriends never last longer than 2 weeks, so he doesn't bring them around. However, about 8 months ago Charles started dating Danielle, 29F. They met on a dating site, and initially we thought she was nice, but that she seemed a little old for our chronically immature friend. But they seemed happy and she started joining our hangouts 5 months ago. Personally, I don't date much, so I've never brought anyone to our hangouts until Saturday night. About 4 months I started seeing Jamie, 25M. Jamie's real name is also a popular unisex name. I decided I wanted him to meet my friends, so after our dinner in July I texted the group chat, me, Abby, Ben and Charles, and asked if it would be cool if my new boyfriend Jamie joined us. Everyone was excited and couldn't wait to meet him. Anyways, we went Saturday night and Jamie and I were the last to arrive. Everyone else was just waiting in the front area of the restaurant waiting for our table to be ready. I introduced everyone and then Ben asked me about a hobby project I've been working on. Meanwhile Jamie is making conversation with the others. I think everything is going great until the hostess shows up and asks if we're waiting for one more. We say no, and then she goes, "Oh, your reservation is for 6, did someone cancel?" We looked around and that's when we noticed Danielle was gone. Charles says she must have gone to the bathroom, but he'll wait for her and come to the table when she comes out. 10 minutes go by and still no Charles or Danielle. Jamie and Ben are deep in conversation, so Abby and I decided to go to check on them. When we get out there, Charles is knocking on the bathroom door and no one is answering. Charles tells us that he called and texted Danielle and she's not answering and he's worried something's happened to her. Abby's a nurse, so she went into the bathroom while I waited with Charles. She came out and told us no one's in there. So now we're all worried. Charles calls Danielle again and this time she picks up. We could tell they were having some kind of fight, so Abby and I went back to the table to tell Ben and Jamie that we should probably leave. Before they could even stand up, Charles came to the table and told us to sit down. He said Danielle went home and if she was going to be this way he wasn't going to let her ruin his night. He refused to tell us why she left or what she was mad about. We have a good time but was still kinda awkward with Danielle not being there. After we pay the bills, Charles asked Ben for a ride home since Danielle drove him. So we went out to the parking lot and Abby's parked the closest, so she was gone before everything got worse. I parked way out in the back next to Ben, so the 4 of us are walking all the way out when Ben said, "Isn't that Danielle's car?" Sure enough, Danielle is parked a couple of cars down from mine and she was just sitting in the driver's seat. When she finally noticed us, she got out and slammed the door and started coming towards us screaming at Charles. She was screaming at him about me. She called me a manipulative whore among other things. I didn't really know what was going on, so Jamie and I just left. Ben said he stayed for almost 45 minutes in his car waiting for Charles in case Danielle left him there. He's also confused about what happened. So yesterday morning, Sunday morning, Abby asked me because she heard from Ben about the fight and wanted to see what I knew. She's my roommate. Obviously the 3 of us were still clueless. Until around 11 a.m. when Charles called me. I put the phone on speaker so Abby could hear, thinking it was just gonna be him ranting. Only, it wasn't. Charles was calling to tell me that Danielle wanted an apology from me because I didn't tell her I was straight. I guess she assumed I was gay like Abby because I've never brought men around before. I asked how she didn't know when I said I was inviting my boyfriend. I looked. I used boyfriend and he/him pronouns in the text chain. Charles said he just used the word partner because he tries to be inclusive. I told him that I'm not going to apologize because he didn't make it clear Jamie's a boy when I did. That's his fault. Not mine. That's when Abby and I heard Danielle start yelling in the background. Next thing we knew, she took the phone and started yelling that I was a manipulative whore who lied on purpose and that I'm trying to steal her man. She just kept yelling at me until I hung up. Then she texted the group from Charles's phone, "At least it's safe to assume it was her, that Charles will no longer be associating with us because I'm an evil bitch." Ben had no idea what was going on and called us. The three of us decided that it was Charles's fault for not making it clear, but Jamie was a boy and that none of this is my fault. However, Ben thinks that I should apologize to Danielle for not making my sexuality clearer. A number of other mutual friends have reached out since yesterday afternoon, telling me that I need to apologize and writing nasty comments on all of my Instagram posts that include pictures of all four of us. None of them refuse to listen and all just say that I'm in love with Charles and that I'm a homewrecker trying to steal him, not sure why I would do that while I'm in a relationship but whatever, or that I lied because I'm with a lesbian and never corrected Danielle. I didn't know she thought I was gay. I'm assuming that Danielle is telling everyone that I made a pass or something, but when Ben and Jamie heard that, he burst out laughing because everyone who knows me knows that Charles and Ben are more like annoying old brothers to me than anything else. Now, I don't know if Charles has a thing for me or not, but in the 6 years I've known him he's never made any kind of pass or romantic advance, so I doubt it. This is a throwaway because Charles follows my main and I want to avoid getting in a fight with him or Danielle on Reddit. So, I need to know. AITA for not telling Danielle that I'm straight before now. Should I apologize for not making it clearer? So, just a brief update that is making things clearer. I just got off the phone with one of my friends who is also friends with Charles and I asked her to tell me what they're saying about me. Apparently, Charles asked me out first year and I said he wasn't my type. I don't remember this, but at the time I would have been 17 while he was 20. Yes, I skipped a grade. I just turned 23 at the beginning of July and Charles turns 26 in 3 weeks, so he's almost a full 3 years older than me. So that meant I must be gay and just in the closet. He read Jamie and assumed woman and just ignored all the times I said Jamie's a dude. And I guess he's been making comments to Danielle about how he wishes I was his type and comparing her to me. Then while she had stepped out, aka pouting in her car, she saw us through the window groping each other. There was no groping, just me telling him that she was probably just waiting for someone to enter the bathroom so she could ask for a tampon. Literally didn't touch him at all. Also, I've made passes at him before, I've rubbed myself on him and I've been trying to sabotage their relationship since the beginning, but she brushed it off. BC I was just a touchy-feely gay. And apparently Charles believes that the only reason I'm dating Jamie is to make him jealous because I obviously don't have a problem with older guys. So I guess I've figured out what lies they're telling, and Abby, Ben and I wrote out a text in the group chat explaining that we don't appreciate the lies they're telling and that I will not be apologizing for a problem they're causing and we won't be reaching out again. Stories number 42. AITA for not turning down an invite to go backstage at a show because a friend of mine couldn't handle being left alone. My two friends, 39F and 28F, and I, 30F, were specifically picked out of a crowd to come backstage at a concert recently because we are close friends with the band, but a fourth friend of ours, 32F, I'll call her Teresa, flipped out because she wasn't included. Teresa's been to a few of the band's concerts with us, but none of us know her super well and we literally only see her at shows. Teresa told my friends later that it was because she has trauma and abandonment issues, but I distinctly recall her saying in a very bratty, huffy tone, "Well, okay then. What about me?" when she wasn't included with us to come backstage, so she was obviously just mad she was left out. My friends are insisting that it's concert etiquette to take care of the people around you, and making me feel like I'm in the wrong for not being more sympathetic to her and her situation. Look, I totally get the taking care of people around you at shows, but I also don't feel like I should be criticized for not wanting to babysit a 32-year-old woman who I really don't know that well, who can't handle being by herself, at a concert she came to alone, and wants to be bitchy that she can't go backstage with us when she wasn't invited. The band manager specifically pointed to the three of us, said, "Just those three," and had a roadie come get us. We very politely but firmly gave Teresa two options when we were leaving to go backstage. She could either stay in the pit and wait for us, or go across the street to the pub where we were going afterwards and wait for us there. Neither idea was good enough for her and she remained very upset. And plus, it wasn't like my friends were wanting to stay with her either, so by their own rationale of how you should take care of people at concerts, they should be just as guilty as me for not staying with her. Just looking for some outside perspective here to see if I'm really an asshole for not being more sympathetic, or what. Edit. It's come to my attention that I worded my originally post poorly and may have left out some important context. Teresa is much more of an acquaintance of mine, and it's a stretch to call her a friend as I really don't know her that well. We didn't plan to come to the concert together at all, we bought our tickets completely separately, traveled there separately, and we simply ran into each other while we were there. We also didn't realize we would be invited backstage, as that wasn't something that had ever happened to us before. Hope this provides some context for folks that were confused. Stories number 43. AITA for not doing more to help my son after he was caught running online scams. I honestly don't know where to begin with this mess, but I need some perspective. My 44F, 20-year-old son was arrested last month for running online scams targeting elderly people. Apparently, he and his college buddies had been doing this for months, pretending to be tech support, calling seniors and convincing them to give up their banking information or send gift cards for fake computer repairs. Their whole operation came crashing down when they targeted the wrong person. They called someone whose daughter happens to work for the FBI's cybercrime unit. She immediately knew it was a scam and had them traced. Within days, the whole group was arrested. They found records of dozens of victims on my son's laptop, and he'd even kept spreadsheets tracking how much they'd stolen from each person. What terrifies me is how close he came to federal charges. The FBI was involved initially, and if they'd stolen just a bit more or crossed certain lines, this could have been so much worse. As it stands, he's facing state fraud charges, and the evidence is overwhelming. His public defender says pleading guilty is the only realistic option. I've already drained my savings to get him a better lawyer, but there's no getting around what he did. The worst part? He had absolutely no reason to do any of this. I work 2 jobs to pay his tuition and living expenses. He has a meal plan, a nice apartment near campus, and I even give him spending money. I've never made him get a job because I wanted him to focus on his studies. Now he's furious with me because I won't take out a second mortgage to hire some expensive attorney who promises to make this disappear. He keeps saying I'm not doing enough, that if I really loved him I'd find a way to fix this. He acts like this is somehow my fault or my responsibility to solve. The money he stole, thousands of dollars from vulnerable seniors, was just for things he wanted but didn't need. Gaming equipment, expensive clothes, nights out with friends. Meanwhile, I'm working myself to the bone to support him, and he repays me by victimizing people my own mother's age. I'm at a complete loss. Part of me wants to do everything possible to help him, but another part thinks he needs to face the consequences of his choices. He's an adult who made a deliberate decision to hurt innocent people. How much am I supposed to sacrifice to clean up his mess? Has anyone dealt with something like this? I love my son, but I don't know how to handle this situation or his anger toward me. What would you do? Stories number 44. AITA for calling my siblings and mom fat. Not the a-hole. Background: since I, 21F, was a kid, my family has made me aware that I was fat. I can't remember a time before it. During back-to-school shopping my mom would always buy a size too small for me and tell me to suck in until it fit. My sister never missed a chance to tell me how unattractive I was. After my last sibling left for college when I was 16, my mom and dad stopped keeping food in the house and encouraged me to fend for myself to help me slim down. As I was a broke teenager, I ate McDonald's most days and only got larger. My siblings used to call me from college just to ask if I was working out or had changed my diet. I got really sick when I was 18 and have lost a lot of weight as a result. I'm not sick anymore and I've managed to maintain the lower weight. I'm 130 pounds, still 5 feet 4 inches. Now, all my family seems to be able to talk about is whether or not I have an eating disorder and how worryingly thin I am. When I was the same height and weight in middle school, all of them told me how fat I was and how desperately I needed to lose weight quite literally every day. I recently brought this up to my sister, and her only response was that I couldn't have possibly have been 130 pounds in middle school as I looked so fat. It's all fucking with my head. I can't reconcile everyone thinking I was unreasonably fat to them speculating about whether or not I have an eating disorder right in front of me. Just looking at myself now sends me into a spiral as I never put an active effort into losing weight and my body has changed so much without my consent. The story: recently, we were all eating dinner together and my brothers wouldn't stop commenting on what I had ordered, and one of them called me Anna. I just hit my breaking point and told them all that they only thought I was fat back then because they were thin, and they only think I'm overly thin now because they've all gotten fat. This made my sister cry, her husband uncomfortable, my brothers mad, and my mom didn't care at all lol. Up to now, I've refused to apologize because I'm not sorry at all and I'm pretty sure it's true. I do feel bad for calling them fat as I never liked being told that myself, but they have all bulked up in the past few years and they certainly had no problem doing the same to me for years. However, I know two wrongs don't make a right. My friends agree with me, but obviously they're biased, and both of my brother's girlfriends have sternly asked me to apologize. Am I the asshole? Stories number 45. AITA for punishing my daughter for not coming to my wedding. I got married last weekend in my parents' house, which has been in the family for generations. For health reasons, only immediate family was there. My daughter, 16F, had been calling her new stepmom, 21F, names like homewrecker and prostitute, and I have been patient with her. She assumes I left her late mother because she had breast cancer. However, I did not leave her mother for having cancer. Nobody decides to have cancer. However, her late mother kept using her illness to devalue me and my sense of identity. She'd criticized the way I was taking care of her and even stuff like my hygiene or the cologne I was wearing. She made me feel worthless, and I felt like she was projecting her own insecurities by saying the smell of my cologne was disgusting because she never made an effort to keep herself up, and despite the fact that I objectively found her disgusting sometimes, I stuck by her until my self-esteem was destroyed. I would work hard closing deals all day and be acknowledged for my efforts at work, yet I'd go home and she'd criticize and nag about every ounce of my being. I met her stepmom when I was in a dark place. She made me feel like I could be myself again. My wife made me feel unattractive and sexless, and with my new wife, I felt alive. Just the fact that she appreciated me and felt physical chemistry with me made me want to do anything for her, to want to provide for her. That's when I decided not to bullshit my wife anymore and file for divorce. Since then, my daughter's relatives from her mom's side have been poisoning her against me. Last weekend, when I and her stepmom went to the site of the wedding early, we expected to see her drive to the wedding later. But instead she ended up going to stay with her aunt. Everybody asked where she was, and there was chaos from my side of the family locating her. As punishment, I took her car and allowance away and have taken her phone away until I feel that she can learn to be respectful towards someone I very much love. And that it will be impossible for her to do that if she keeps having to hear from her late mom's side of the family. My parents have called and said that I was being too harsh. However, even when things are tough, I feel I cannot let a child of mine believe they can just do whatever they want. AITA. Stories number 46. Most Christians have no idea where their own religion came from. One of those social media preacher kids came up to me on the street recently. The kind with a backward hat, a ring light, and a mic in your face, asking if you believe in Jesus. I said no. He looked stunned. Then I asked him a few basic questions about his own religion. It fell apart instantly. He didn't know that Paul never met Jesus. He didn't know that Paul's letters were written before the Gospels. He had no idea the Gospels were written decades after Jesus died, by anonymous Greek authors who weren't eyewitnesses. No clue that Matthew and Luke copied from Mark. No idea the resurrection stories contradict each other completely. He had never heard that the earliest Gospel, Mark, ends with no resurrection appearances at all. He couldn't explain why Jesus' birth is dated to two completely different time periods in Matthew and Luke. One says it happened under Herod, who died in 4 BCE. The other says it was during the census under Quirinius in 6 CE. That's a 10-year gap. One gospel has Jesus' family fleeing to Egypt. The other says they went straight back to Nazareth. And when I brought up the Trinity, he said it's all over Scripture. I asked him to show me where Jesus defines it. He couldn't. Because he didn't know the Trinity is a post-biblical doctrine created by church councils in the 4th century. Same with the New Testament canon. He didn't realize it was the Catholic Church that decided which books made it into the Bible. Evangelicals claim they just follow Scripture, but they're following a table of contents that Rome gave them. Most Christians have no idea that Paul barely talks about Jesus' life, teachings, or miracles, that Judas dies 2 different ways in Matthew and Acts, that the Gospels can't agree on who found the tomb, who was there, or what they saw, that John rewrites everything with a totally different voice and message, that the last 12 verses of Mark were added later, that doctrines like the Trinity, the virgin birth, and parts of the resurrection story evolved over time. But they'll still tell you you're going to hell for not believing it. If you're going to preach to strangers on the sidewalk, maybe start by understanding where the magical sacred book came from. I seriously think the majority of Christians think Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John watched Jesus go around and then got together right after he died and wrote down everything exactly as it happened. They obviously just cherry-pick feel-good verses and have never actually read and compared all the wild contradictions. Jesus can be whatever you want him to be. That is what the writers of the Gospels and Paul did. Stories number 47. AITA for picking my favorite restaurant that my brother hates for my birthday meal that my grandparents paid for. My parents never let me eat at my favorite restaurant when we celebrate my birthday or other stuff. My brother doesn't like the food there and they say any celebration needs to include stuff we all like. Which might be fine except they don't have the same standard for him. We always eat at his favorite place. It's this really small pizza shop and the food is awful. Like I should like some of the stuff but it tastes so gross. I'm not the only person who thinks so either, but since my brother loves it they don't care if I hate the food there. There are times I have gone and ordered nothing but water and other times where I ordered food and had to force myself to eat and felt sick afterward. My dad gets stomach issues from eating there but he tolerates it for my brother. My parents don't even go with any of my top choices, even for my birthday. They always go with choices I'm just okay with because my brother likes them. I have tried telling them I don't like those restaurants anymore and they say I can find something, but none of my top 5 places work for my brother. Stuff we will eat out for our birthdays, awards, graduations and really good report cards, sometimes. In June I turned 16 and my grandparents stopped by for a couple of weeks to see us. They told us they were taking everyone out to celebrate my birthday on my actual birthday and we'd have a nice meal and all the rest, all on them. They asked me when my parents and brother weren't around where I'd like to go and I told them about the Thai place that's my favorite ever. They said they knew I didn't ever get treated to it but my parents couldn't dictate to them. When my birthday actually came around my grandparents surprised my parents and brother with where we were eating and they took the fall for it. They said they heard us talk about that place before and knew it was my favorite and how they wanted to surprise me. I was excited enough that it was believable. My brother sulked and insulted the food, the restaurant and the staff the whole night. He's 14 BTW and we're both guys. My grandparents told my parents they shouldn't let him act that way and they ended up fighting each other because of it. But I enjoyed the food. It was the best meal out I had with my family in forever. Mom and Dad told me they knew I chose the restaurant even if my grandparents said it was them. They told me I knew my brother didn't like it. I said he knows I don't like his favorite but he has to go there. They told me not to turn it back on him, that I'm 16 and that's old enough to know better. They said part of being a good host is catering to your guests. I said he wasn't really my guest though and it pissed them off even more, but they still bring it up and they had like 3 more fights with my grandparents over it. My brother tried to get revenge by throwing water all over me and trying to make me eat mushrooms, ick. My parents' response that it was my fault for the stunt with the restaurant. Stories number 48. I, 38F, am getting remarried to 42M, son is not happy. How do I handle? My, 38F, husband passed away 4 years ago when my now 14-year-old son was 10. We all took it hard of course. 2.5 years later I met a man and we started dating. About a year later he proposes to me and I say yes. The wedding is in about a month. It's the second marriage for the both of us and we are keeping it pretty small. Nothing lavish or fancy. He has no kids. I still live in the same house and he plans to move in with us. My son is polite to my fiancé but otherwise keeps his distance. My fiancé wants a relationship with him and is trying his best to connect with him while also respecting his space. I think he's done a good job so far. I've talked to my son about the wedding. He agreed to walk me down the aisle. My fiancé asked if he would be his best man. His only request was that he wanted to stand on my side. We said of course. I thought everything was going well. Last night my son comes to me and says he doesn't want to go to the wedding anymore. I ask why. He starts crying and says, I miss Dad. Then he says, I don't want to watch you kiss and be happy with another man. I just want my dad back. I want our family back. I don't care about fiancé's name. He just kept crying and I let him sleep with me last night. I don't know what to do. I guess I'm not going to force him to go and have him resent me. It's just after years of being sad I'm finally happy again sometimes. I've just been sitting here crying thinking about how my son won't be there for my special day and how he probably doesn't even want me to get married. I talked to my fiancé. He didn't say much. He was disappointed but just said whatever I wanted to do he'd support me since it's my kid. I hate that I feel like I'm forcing my kid to move on when he's not ready.